Chapter 430. A light drizzle began to fall. The rain in spring was always unending. The raindrops slowly flowed down along Qin Yin's delicate facial features. She blinked her eyes and lowered her head to wipe the rainwater off her face. She continued to look at the rising demon wall in the distance. On the side, Chu Chu, Feng Jixing, Xiang Yu, Su Yu, and the others stood guard. Your Highness. Su'er cupped her fists and said, Qianfeng's main force is in front of us. It seems like Qianfeng wants to defeat us at our strongest defense. This arrogant demon marshal. Xiang Yu gritted his teeth and said. Qin Yin squinted her beautiful eyes and said, our top priority is to know Qianfeng's thoughts. Why did he build such a high wall? Duke Lan, grandfather, can you guess it? Tang Lan held onto the battlement as rainwater slowly flowed down her aged palm. Her pair of turbid eyes looked into the distance and said, the demon's siege weapons are not excellent. This is also the reason why their siege ladders and siege towers have not been able to break through the steel protective wall. If they had cast a layer of steel armor on the siege towers, I believe that the steel protective wall would have been broken long ago. In this old man's opinion, Qianfeng's purpose of building such a high wall is to stand up to us and increase the range of the catapults, so that they can throw stones at the wall. Qin Yin's fragrant shoulders trembled slightly and said, if that's the case, then it's not that simple. At this moment, Su Muyin suddenly staggered and his expression changed drastically. What's wrong, grandfather? Qin Yin hurriedly asked. Su Yu also supported her father and asked, Father, what's wrong? Su Muyun's hand trembled slightly as he pointed at the demon wall in the distance and said, you guys, can you guys imagine what would happen if the demon's catapults were to throw a lot of huge stones? If it's not huge stones, then what are they? Feng Jixing was startled. Qin Yin was exceptionally intelligent and had already thought of it. She was startled and said, they will throw living things over. A living creature? Xiang Yu was stunned. Su Muyin nodded. If they throw living armored demons, how are we going to block them when tens of thousands of armored demons fall from the sky and land on the inside of the steel wall? Heavens! Feng Jixing suddenly gripped the hilt of his saber and said, Qianfeng. Qianfeng couldn't have really thought of this, could he? It must be. Tang Lan's face was pale. She looked at the earth wall that was continuously being built in the distance and said, their wall is already close to 20 meters high. The steel wall is 45 meters high. In addition to the projectile ability of their catapults, it should be time. We need to make a decision as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll be caught off guard. Got it. Qin Yin's eyes dimmed as she said, the steel wall is no longer safe. Grandfather, Elder Lan, I will send someone to escort you out of the steel wall. You should return to the imperial capital first. Su Muyin was aghast. Xiao Yinyu, grandfather, you're already so old. You should have a good death instead of dying on the battlefield. Qin Yin's eyes were red as she looked at Su Muyin and said, grandfather, Xiao Yin has no relatives left. I can't just watch you die. Su Muyin's body trembled and tears streamed down his face. He said in a low voice, Su Yu, all the troops in Muyu City are now under your command. You must protect Xiao Yin and guard the steel wall. Yes, father. Soon after, Su Muyin and Tang Lan left the steel protective wall under the escort of the guards and disappeared into the curtain of rain. Your Highness, why didn't you leave? Feng Jixing frowned and said, it's the fate of us soldiers to die on the battlefield. You're the Empress. You really shouldn't stay here. No, if I leave, the morale of the army will be in chaos. If I don't leave, Chu will be here to protect me. All right then. When Feng Jixing raised his head again, he saw creaking sounds coming from the distant earth wall of the demon race. As expected, a huge catapult had been pushed onto the earth wall, followed by the second, the third, and more, densely packed together. Xiang Yu was slightly stunned. What do we do now? Do we just sit here and wait for death? Qin Yin said faintly, all the military power of the empire will be under Feng Jixing's command. Now, General Feng, you're the supreme commander at the front line. You will be in charge of this war. Feng Jixing couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Your Highness, you're really making things difficult for me, Feng Jixing. To be given such a command in the face of danger. This crisis is too great. With that, Feng Jixing turned to the group of generals and said, "Order all the soldiers to change into shields and raise them high above their heads to form a giant shield. When the demons fall, use the shields to throw them back down the steel wall. If the shields aren't enough, use a spear to press against the ground and aim in the direction of the demons. If they dare to fall, turn them into barbecued skewers." "Yes, Commander." Everyone nodded. Feng Jixing looked behind him and asked, "Zhang Wei, how much black beech oil do we have left?" "About 10,000 barrels." "Commander, what's wrong?" "Pour the black beech oil into the ditches in the city and send people to dig more ditches. Make sure that there is a ditch every 3 meters. Also, we have already poured the black beech oil. Search the steel walls for all the materials that can ignite the fire. Once the rain stops, spread them all out." "Yes." Zhang Wei's face was pale as he said, "Commander, what are you doing?" Feng Jixing clenched his fists and said indifferently, "The steel wall cost the Empire 500 million Jingren coins. Even if it's destroyed, it must be worth it. Go and do it immediately. In addition, remove all the arrow boxes and ballistae from the city, and place them in the unicorn forest outside the steel wall. Prepare to fight the demons to the death." "Yes." Pung. A catapult suddenly made a loud noise. What it threw wasn't a huge rock but a pitch-black object. It was an armored demon with a hunched body. It curled up like a beetle and relied on the hard armor on its back to protect its weak parts. It landed on the steel wall in a very strange curve. Clang. Feng Jixing unsheathed his long saber and waved it in the air. Immediately, the armored demon that was thrown over was dismembered in the air. Everyone laughed and cheered. However, the sound of catapults kept ringing. More and more armored demons were thrown from the sky. Soon, the guards on the city were tired of dealing with them. On the ground, the siege towers came again. It was like adding snow to snow. "Block them. You must block them for me." Feng Jixing's face was cold. He kept charging into the crowd with his wind cutter, chopping the armored demons into pieces one after another. Meanwhile, Xiang Yu gathered his chaotic force and used his bloodthirsty spear to launch a series of penetrating sanctuary attacks, piercing through the armored demons that had fallen on the city. Countless armored demons fell from the sky and smashed onto the shields of the soldiers on the city, or collided with the protruding spears. Under the huge impact, they were pierced into a bunch, but most of them rolled on the city or inside the city, and started killing wantonly. Haha! A familiar laughter came from below the city wall. Nobody knew when a demon in golden armor appeared. It was Qianfeng. With a roar, the Grandmaster-level demon power on the blade surged out and bombarded the iron gate of the steel wall. Bang! The city wall was shaking crazily. The iron gate couldn't withstand Qianfeng's attack, and was directly pierced through. Qianfeng jumped up and appeared on the ladder with a group of advanced demon warriors. He smiled at Qin Yin on the city wall and said, "Your Highness Qin Yin, we meet again." Roar. A 4-star demon warrior rushed over with a battle axe. With a roar, he swung the axe at Qin Yin's shoulder. Bang! The battle axe was suddenly deflected, and a dragon-shaped energy crystal shield appeared beside Qin Yin. It was the third form of the Dragon Slayer incantation, the Sacred Dragon Shield. Qin Yin's purple ink sword struck out at lightning speed, and with the power of the true dragon god binding chains, it pierced through the demon sex expert's shoulder. With a pft sound, blood splattered everywhere. However, the protective aura around his body was also very strong, or else the purpling sword would have pierced through him. He didn't expect this delicate and beautiful empress to have such a cultivation. The demon warrior took a few steps back and stopped in midair on a cyclone. Qianfeng's roar came from behind him. "Idiot, do you think Qin Yin is so easy to kill? Get back here." The demon warrior quickly retreated, but Qin Yin suddenly rose up, and her sword fell from the sky like a meteor shower. "You want to kill me? Come on." He instantly revealed his arrogance, and cyclones formed by the demonic aura wrapped around his body. The cyclones wrapped around the Ziying sword and dragged Qin Yin down the city wall. But Qin Yin wasn't that easy to deal with. She shook her hand lightly, and her beautiful face was filled with killing intent. A god-binding chains appeared in the air and pierced through the demon warrior's thigh. "Your Highness, danger!" Chu Chu descended from the sky with the power of the Holy Sky Realm. He grabbed Qin Yan's shoulder and threw her onto the city wall. He then chased after her and opened his palm, shouting, "Die!" Buzz. The fire cauldron opened, and the light from the martial soul shot out in all directions. The raging flames instantly blew the demon warrior into pieces. Bastard! Qianfeng was infuriated, and his arms were filled with demonic aura. His blood-red eyes were filled with anger, and his sword carried boundless demonic aura as it slashed towards Chu Chu's back. With Chu Chu's cultivation, he suddenly jumped up in the air and stopped his body. The fire cauldron covered his body, and he pushed out with both palms. Raging flames rose into the sky and collided with Qianfeng's attack. Bang! The energy storm suddenly exploded, and the bricks behind him were all turned into dust. The center of the steel wall was destroyed, and the wall was definitely going to fall. Qianfeng spun around and retreated. The demonic aura in his body surged, and his blood and qi surged. He said with a stern gaze, "Fire Cauldron Chu Chu, you really live up to your name." Chu Chu stood proudly in the wind, and his sleeves fluttered in the wind. He said indifferently, "The demon race's monster is only so." Imph. Qianfeng slowly retreated, and pointed his sword at the steel wall, and said, "Today we must break through this city and capture Qinin alive." Chapter 431. The fierce battle lasted for 2 days and 2 nights. When the spring rain stopped, the fortress that was protected by the steel walls was already filled with armored demons. The entire city was filled with the figures of the Empire's soldiers and armored demons. The sounds of fighting and screams were continuous. Arrows were constantly falling from the sky. That was the attack launched by the winged demon army from the sky. Bang! A section of the city wall collapsed. This steel wall that cost 500 million Jinin coins was ultimately unable to stop the invasion of the demon race. Among the broken bricks of the city wall, countless soldiers and armored demons were still fighting, as if they would never stop. On the main road of the fortress, a group of Imperial Guards surrounded the Empress and retreated. The commander of the Imperial Guards, Qin Yan, carried a long spear and was surrounded by the radiance of the dragon scale armor. He said in a low voice, "Your Highness, quickly leave the city. I will hold them off for a while. You have to be careful. Quickly follow me," Qin Yan said. "Got it." Qin Yan urged his horse to turn around and rushed over with his long spear. The radiance of the dragon scale armor expanded greatly, protecting Qin Yan and his horse. The long spear was thrust out 3 times in a row, piercing through the throats of a few armored demons. At the same time, the dragon scale armor was continuously shaken, and golden radiance continuously burst forth. This also caused the youngest commander of the Empire to frown, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Fortunately, a large group of soldiers and horses charged over from the back. It was the group led by Feng Jixing. "Blow the conch horn. Retreat." Feng Jixing ordered loudly. Very quickly, the unique conch horn of the Empire sounded in the city. This was the signal for a general retreat. A group of Imperial Guards carrying shields took on the task of bringing up the rear. They retreated step by step from this city that had already been occupied by the demon race. Behind them, the black mass of armored demons attacked wildly. There were at least 10,000 armored demons in the fortress. In addition, there were about 1,000 soldiers of the Empire. "All of you get out of the city," Feng Jixing ordered loudly. Qin Yan had no choice but to lead the soldiers out of the city. Feng Jixing, on the other hand, dashed to the top of the inner city gate in 2 or 3 steps. With a quick spin of his wind cutter, he chopped off the noose on the iron gate with a dang sound. The iron gate fell down with a loud bang. When he looked into the city again, he saw hundreds of Imperial Army soldiers being surrounded by the armored demons, constantly being besieged and killed. "Commander!" Achillearch's face was covered in blood, but he still waved his saber and shouted, "Hurry up and leave. If we die, then we die. Commander, you're so precious, you can't die here." Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and rushed up the walls of the inner city step by step. He looked back at the Imperial army that was being massacred in the inner city. Tears swirled in his eyes as he muttered, "Brothers, your sacrifice will be worth it." Shwa shwa. A wisp of flame appeared on the edge of the saber. Feng Jixing launched a fierce strike at a group of armored demons who rushed forward to take down him, a commander-level battle general. Boom! The saber light cut open the bodies of a group of armored demons, and the flames fell on the ground. Immediately, the black beach oil in the city's ditches quickly ignited and spread everywhere. In an instant, the entire mountain forest stronghold with steel walls became a sea of fire. It was unknown how many Imperial soldiers were still trapped inside, but it was certain that more armored demons would die in this sea of fire. Feng Jixing carried his saber and jumped down from the city wall with bloodshot eyes. He took the warhorse from his subordinate and mounted it, saying, "Retreat, wait for the demons in the Unicorn Forest." Yes, everyone left one after another. In the distance, there was only the rising smoke from the fortress and the remnants of the battle that was still going on in the fortress. Feng Jixing's face was livid. He didn't know how many soldiers of the Empire had been burned to death by this fire, but he knew that if this fire didn't start, the devil race would definitely charge straight in. By then, even Qin Yin wouldn't be able to escape. When night fell, the sparks in the Unicorn Forest lit up. The temporary Central Army tent was extremely simple and crude, and the neighing of war horses could be heard in the surroundings. Qin Yin sat quietly in the commander's seat, looking calm. Beside her, Chu Chu, Feng Jixing, Xiang Yu, Su Yu, and the others were also silent. In the end, Zhang Wei could not bear it any longer and said, "The steel protective wall has already been broken. The intelligence from the front is that there are at least 100,000 demon soldiers quickly gathering. Before long, this 100,000 army will appear in the Unicorn Forest. How should we stop them?" Xiang Yu said, "Your Highness, I suggest that we withdraw and defend Wugu City. Wugu City has been operating for many years. The city is strong and has abundant food reserves. It can be used as a strong city to defend." A trace of displeasure flashed in Su Yu's eyes. "There are still 4 or 5 days to travel from here to Wugu City. The cavalry can quickly reach Wugu City, but the infantry is destined to be hunted down and killed by the demons. We still have nearly 300,000 troops in our hands, and almost 80% of them are infantry. Do we want to bury these imperial main forces?" Zhang Wei said. "Moreover, there is no continuous city pass around Wugu City to block the demons. Qian Feng is so cunning. He can command the demon army to bypass Wugu City and directly attack the imperial capital." Xiang Yu's face was ashen. "Apart from this method, there is only a decisive battle." Qin Yin slightly frowned and asked, "General Feng, what do you think?" Feng Jixing clenched the hilt of his sword and said indifferently, "It's time for the decisive battle. This subordinate has already mobilized people to dig and arrange traps in this area as early as half a month ago. Moreover, we have 800 arrow boxes and more than 300 ballistae. All of them have been arranged in the Unicorn Forest area. On flat ground, the arrow box's penetrating power can be maximized. As long as the demons dare to attack, we will send all the cavalry in our hands to deal with them. We will use arrow boxes, ballistae, traps, and so on to continuously consume the demons and kill all their armor demons. Let's see what else Qianfeng can use to fight us." "Really? Do we really have to fight the demons?" Tang Lu looked aghast and said, "General Feng, you have also seen the fighting strength of the demon army. Do you really think our cavalry can compete with the armored demons?" Otherwise, Feng Jixing's eyes were ice cold. He raised his hand and pointed to the west and said, "Five Valley City, Lanyan City, Qihai City, Muyu City, and hundreds of cities and thousands of counties of the empire are there. If we don't fight to the death with the demons here today, are we going to watch helplessly as the empire's territory is trampled by the demons and our people are slaughtered by the demons? Lord Tang Lu, don't forget that we are wearing the empire's military uniform and should do what we should do." On the side, Imperial Guard Deputy Commander Xia Hosang cupped his fists and said, "Reporting to Your Highness and Lord Commander, we have just received a letter saying that Commander Lin Muyu of the Longdan Army Camp is rushing over from Lanyan City with 110,000 elite troops. They will arrive at Five Valley City in about 5 days to reinforce us." "Great." Feng Jixing's eyes lit up and he said with a smile, "As long as we resist the Qianfeng Corps here for 5 days, when Yu's 110,000 troops arrive, we will definitely be able to turn defeat into victory." A smile finally appeared on Qin Yin's beautiful face and she said, "Everything will be according to General Feng's arrangements." Yes, this general will not disappoint the Lord. Early in the morning, the faint cries of strange beasts came from the unicorn forest, but no one paid attention to the wild beasts and the beautiful flowers and trees in the surroundings. A thin mist shrouded the middle of the forest, turning into a trace of rain that fell on the armor and battle robes. The densely packed imperial heavy cavalry all stood beside the war horses, holding weapons in their hands, their faces full of solemnity. A little further away, there were 12 square formations of heavy shield and spear battalions, all equipped with heavy shields and spears. Every 5,000 people formed a circle, forming a heavy armor battle formation in the forest. In the mist, Qin Yin, Suyu, Tang Lu, Tang Tian, and the others were all standing on the viewing platform that couldn't be considered too high. The corners of Xiang Yu's mouth curled up and he said with a smile, "Is this the Qianquan battle formation passed down by ancestor Xiang Wentian?" "That's right." Feng Jixing nodded and said, "The Qianquan battle formation grows and grows endlessly, and it is very difficult for the demons to break through our dense battle formation in this forest terrain. The mist is very thick, and the demons can't see clearly, neither can we. But to use the drum to direct the changes in the battle formation, we should already have the advantage of the right time and the right place." Xiang Yu couldn't help but sneer. "I didn't expect General Feng to have studied the ancestors' battle formation so thoroughly." Feng Jixing frowned and didn't say anything. At the side, Qin Yin said, "General Feng, what are our chances of victory?" "About 30%. Feng Jixing's expression was solemn as he said, "The Armored Demon Legion has a large number of people, and they also have the cooperation of the Winged Person Legion and the high-level demons. Even if we use the Qianquan battle formation, I'm afraid we won't have more than 50% chance of victory." Su'er was startled. Then what's the meaning of us fighting the demons in the unicorn forest? Consumption. Feng Jixing's handsome face instantly surged with hatred, and he said, "The demons have trampled on our empire's mountains and rivers. We will fight the demons sooner or later. The meaning of this battle is to kill 40 to 50,000 armored demons, even if we lose 100,000 soldiers and horses of the empire. Only in this way can we create the only chance of victory for Yu's Longdan army camp." Suyu was startled and didn't say anything. Xiang Yu, however, sneered and said, "I didn't expect General Feng to be so selfless. Is it to create an opportunity for Commander Yu to make a great contribution by fighting the demons to the death here? The brotherhood of General Feng has really reached the extreme." Feng Jixing couldn't help laughing and said, "Why, Marquis Pingnan is not convinced? If your people have the ability to deal with and win against the same number of armor demons, I, Feng Jixing, will give up the military power. Do you have that ability?" Xiang Yu gnashed his teeth and remained silent. Indeed, although he was conceited, he also knew the power of the armor demons. Moreover, there was the existence of an invincible commander like Qianfeng. In addition, the Seven Seas City army was indeed far less elite than Lin Muyu's Longdan army camp. If they fought against the same number of armor demons, they would definitely lose. However, Lin Muyu had some chance of winning. Dong dong dong. In the distance, the deafening sound of the war drums of the demon race came. The war drums of the empire were all made of cowhide, which was dull and penetrating. However, the war drums of the demon race were all made of a strange animal skin. When they were beaten, it was like thunder, making people unable to bear the earth-shattering sound. Chapter 432. It's here. A faint pulsating sound came from the ground. Feng Jixing suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the impenetrable fog in the distance. He said, "War drums, enter the formation." Dong dong dong. The Empire's cowhide war drums began to reverberate rapidly. Meanwhile, the 60,000 Imperial infantrymen of the 12 Cosmos battle formations rapidly changed their formation in the vast forest. They pointed their spears at the perimeter, raised their shields, and narrowed their eyes. Their faces were full of fighting spirit. Qin Yin's hand unconsciously grasped the hilt of her sword. Her starry eyes looked into the distance. Her spirit sense transmitted a trace of pulsation. The true dragon god binding chains hovered around her arm. She seemed to be able to sense the movement and arrival of the armored demons better. Chu Chu pondered and said, "The battle has begun." In the distance, dense roars drifted from the dense mist as armored demons rushed out of the mist one after another with battle axes, spears and huge sabers. They roared and rushed towards the crowd. However, the enemies in front of them were as hard as a tortoise shell. When the armored demons roared and rushed forward, they could only crash onto the shields. Closely after that, they were pushed away by the shields and spears of 10 to 20 people. Bang bang bang. The sound did not stop. The armored demons kept attacking the Qiankuan formation like a tide. Feng Jixing squinted his eyes and said, "Beat the drums rotating formation." Dong dong. Dong dong. Dong dong. The war drums began to beat rhythmically. Immediately, the 12 formations in the distance began to rotate. The soldiers took turns to bear the impact of the armored demons. This allowed the formation to stay in the same place. The spears pierced through the armored demons one by one. In the blink of an eye, countless armored demons had been lost. However, the war drums of the demons in the distance became more and more intense. It turned out that more and more armored demons rushed into the formation. They began to flap their wings and fly into the formation. In an instant, the 12 Qiankuan formation produced some small ripples and waves. Feng Jixing saw it clearly. He pressed his hand on the hilt of the saber and continued to order, "Beat the drums attacking form." The beating of the war drums became extremely intense. The battle generals in the 12 battle formations in the distance heard it very clearly, and immediately gave the order. Immediately, the Qiankuan battle formation stopped rotating and moved in a certain direction in a regular pattern. The latter used their shields to push against the back of the former. In this way, they surrounded and protected each other, forming the superposition of 10, 100, and 1,000 people, pushing the group of armored demons back again and again. Boom boom boom. The ground covered with green leaves suddenly split open. It was a trap. One after another, the armored demons fell into the deep pit. Someone threw out a torch from the battle formation. Instantly, the black beach oil in the deep pit was ignited. Closely after that, those armored demons were pushed into the flaming deep pit one after another by the Qiankuan battle formation. Miserable screams rose and fell. There were actually deep pits and traps in between the heaven and earth battle formation. This was something Qianfeng would never have thought of. Flames rose into the sky from over 30 deep pits, illuminating the shields held by the soldiers in the battle formation. The miserable shrieks of the armored demons seemed to be echoing their slaughters. At this moment, a group of armored demons suddenly rushed out from the center of the battle formation with unstoppable momentum. They broke into the central palace. Zhang Wei gritted his teeth. "It doesn't matter." Feng Jixing raised his sword-like eyebrows and said, "Once they enter the shooting range, the Aerobox battalion will start attacking." "Yes, Commander." As expected, when the armored demons rushed into the central army about 200 meters away, the Aeroboxes were launched at the same time. Countless arrows flew out densely like rain. 800 Aeroboxes were launched at the same time, spraying tens of thousands of arrows in an instant. This kind of power was so terrifying that in just one round of shooting, nearly 1,000 armored demons were all turned into hedgehogs lying in front of the viewing platform of the central army of the Empire. In the distance, the flames were still burning fiercely. The Qiankuan battle formation kept flying, resisting the attacks of the armored demons. This shocking battle made everyone dumbfounded. Tang Tian was frightened and couldn't help but murmur, "Feng Jixing really is a brave general of the Empire." Qi Nin was also very gratified and said, "Since the appearance of the demon race from the Tongtian Gorge, they have always been invincible in field battles. Today, General Feng will probably break this rule. It is a blessing to have General Feng in the Empire." Feng Jixing, however, frowned and said, "Your Highness, this matter is too early to say. Although the Qiankuan battle formation is powerful, it is also fatal." "What is it?" Qi Nin asked. "Physical strength." Xiang Yu, who was on the side, continued the question and said, "The Qiankuan battle formation is too demanding on the physical strength of the soldiers. Constantly changing the battle formation can exhaust all the strength of a soldier in 2 hours. Moreover, the attacks of the demon race are endless, so the Qianquan battle formation can only delay them for a moment, but can't keep the demon race in the unicorn forest. Feng Jixing nodded and said, just as Marquis Pingnan said, time is limited. This general can only train these 60,000 soldiers to form the Qianquan battle formation. When their physical strength is exhausted, the Qianquan battle formation will probably be useless. This general will send the cavalry to deal with them, and use the white drill arrows left by you to kill the armored demons from afar. Together with the arrow boxes and ballistae, they will continue to consume the demon race's strength. As long as they can, we will try to buy as much time as possible for the Longdan army camp. Qinian gently nodded and said, then, I'll have to trouble General Feng. The sound of the war drums became more and more intense, and the battle seemed to be more fierce. Over the past 2 hours, numerous armored demons had been buried in the sea of fire. However, the armored demon corps continued to attack the Qianquan battle formation, as if they were inexhaustible. Many armored demons leaped into the formation and started a massacre by waving their battle blades. As for the soldiers who had run out of strength, they could only resist to the death. When more than a dozen battle formations began to shake, a layer of sweat appeared on Feng Jixing's handsome face. His arms trembled slightly and his eyes were like torches as he said, beat the drums, withdraw the formation. Cavalry, prepare to attack. Dong dong dong. Dong dong dong. Dong dong dong. As soon as the war drum sounded 3 times, the 12 Qianquan battle formations that had begun to shake and collapse changed rapidly. Each battle formation was divided into more than a dozen small battle formations, each holding a shield to face the enemy, but they moved back and withdrew from the battlefield step by step. This was probably the best way to reduce the loss of retreat. As a founding hero, Xiang Wentian's battle formation was so exquisite. Get on the horse. Qin Yan turned over and mounted the warhorse. Holding the iron spear, he cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, I'm leading the army to attack. Feng Jixing also walked forward with the saber in his hand and took the warhorse from the servant, saying, I'm going too. Your Highness, take care. Qinian opened her eyes wide and looked at the two. Be careful and come back alive. Yes. As the war drums sounded, the less than 40,000 heavy cavalries of the Empire stationed on the steel protective wall mounted their horses one after another, and launched an attack on the armored demon legion, covering the retreat of the infantry formed by the Qianquan battle formation. From afar, a round of white drill arrows was shot, and a large number of armored demons fell into a pool of blood. However, even more armored demons rushed over, bearing their fangs and brandishing their claws. Feng Jixing immediately urged his horse to gallop back, using the advantage of distance to continue using archer and cavalry tactics to kill armored demons. When the armored demons got close to the arrow box's firing range, they would immediately be brutally killed. The jungle was filled with a strong smell of blood. No one knew how many people and demons were killed in this battle. They only knew that there were corpses everywhere on the ground, and those armored demons' corpses that were burned in the deep pits had turned into tiny black dust and scattered in the wind. On the other side of the battle formation, the temporary camp of the armored demons, Qianfeng sat on the marshal's seat, holding the sword hilt and looking at the battle scene in the distance with a pale face. Marshal, humans are about to reach the end of the road. A higher demon of captaincy level said with a smile. The end of the road? Qianfeng raised his head and looked at him, his gaze cold as he said, There are many talents among the humans. This Feng Jixing is so proficient in the art of battle formations. How can we allow him to live in this world? Once there is a chance, we must kill Feng Jixing. Long Qianlin killed more than 20,000 armored demons of Lei Chong in the Battle of Lingnan, which was already a shame to the Protoss race. Today, Feng Jixing made me, Qianfeng, taste the shame of failure again. I must use Feng Jixing's blood to wash away my shame. Order the Wingmen Legion to fly over their battle formation, and burn the human army's food supplies along the way. Without food, I want to see how Feng Jixing can fight with me. Yes, I understand. Captaincy smiled and said, Marshal, it seems that the Qin Empire has decided to fight with us in the Unicorn Forest. We will definitely win this battle, and behead countless people. How about I send someone to Lake Lu to pick up the first princess and the little princess? After they see your great achievements, they will definitely put in a good word for you in front of the Saint Emperor. You may even have the chance to marry one of the two princesses. No need. Qianfeng frowned and said. Are there any movements from the Qin Empire's naval warships? No, the wingmen scouts we sent haven't reported back yet. Qianfeng was shocked and said. Idiot, quickly send an elite high demon army back to Lake Lu to protect the two princesses. My God. How could I be so stupid? Ah, Marshal, what do you mean? Feng Jixing could have sent the naval warships to bypass our line of sight and attack our food supplies and the two princesses. Didn't you think of that? A group of high-ranked demons with the rank of senior officers were stunned. In the night, the north bank of the Lu Lake was ablaze. A group of human cavalries flew by and constantly threw fire sticks into the piles of grains of demons. Piles of grains were quickly ignited. However, the armored demons didn't dare to water them at all. Their wings were flammable, and the oil in their bodies was the best material to ignite the fire. They were born to be afraid of fire, so how could they dare to extinguish it? Deputy Commander, there are people blocking us in front. They are high-ranked demons, but there are not many of them. Kill them. Luo Yu pulled out her sword and said with a murderous look. Thousands of cavalrymen charged forward. Amidst the flames, Luo Yu could vaguely make out two sword-wielding girls among the demons. She immediately ordered, Don't kill those two female demons, I want them alive. Kill the rest. How could dozens of high-ranked demons resist the attack of thousands of human cavalries? The hands of the two purple-eyed girls trembled a little as they held the rapier. The younger one had an extremely gentle voice as she murmured, Sister, are we going to die here? Dying on the battlefield is the pride of the god race. Ninger, don't be afraid. I'm with you. Okay. Chapter 433. Be careful, it's the winged people. A rain of arrows fell from the sky and landed on the crowd. Many soldiers were injured. The arrowheads used by the winged demons were very large and heavy, but the feathers were very short. Only in this way could they increase the ability to attack the ground from the air. But after all, the distance was too far. When the arrowheads fell, they were already powerless and could not cause fatal damage. They could only play the role of a nuisance. After a round of killing, Feng Jixing returned to the spectator stand and wiped the blood on his face. A few arrows landed on his body and were bounced off by his battle armor. He said respectfully, Your Highness, the attack of the demons seems to be more fierce on the second day. Qin nodded. General Feng, it's been hard on you. Su Yu squinted her beautiful eyes and said, Qianfeng's strategy is not that simple. After our soldiers recovered their strength, they reformed the Qiankuan battle formation, but the momentum of the demons' attack has weakened again and again. Qianfeng most likely plans to attack from other places. That's right. Feng Jixing said. The scouts have found new information. Qianfeng secretly ordered 2 armored demon armies to go to the north and south sides of the unicorn spirit beast. He probably wants to attack from the 2 sides of our battle formation and directly attack our command camp. Qianfeng is a cunning villain. Xiang Yu gritted his teeth. Su'er was stunned and asked, Then what should we do? Feng Jixing smiled faintly. If we don't command the camp, they will lose their target. Your Highness and the other commanders will go into battle and attack the armored demon camp with Feng Jixing. Lord Chu Chu will protect your Highness. In this way, Qianfeng's plan will naturally fail. Okay. Qin nodded and said, Bring my horse. Chu Chu and the others went out one after another. This was a battle that concerned the survival of the empire. No one could stay out of it. The sound of fighting soared into the sky. More than half of the unicorn forest had become a battlefield. The smell of blood wafted for hundreds of miles. The sound of horse hooves and the raging roars of the armored demons could be heard everywhere. Nearly 300,000 human soldiers fought fiercely in the unicorn forest for 3 days. In the end, more than a third of their troops had been killed, and more than 2/3 were injured. What was even worse was that their supply route had been cut off by the winged demon army, and most of their rations had been burned. The army had already entered a phase of food shortage. Moreover, the standard arrows used in their quivers had been used up, and even their most elite weapons had been lost. At night, amidst the flickering candlelight, Feng Jixing tightened the belt on his armor. The Empire's emblem on the shoulder of his military uniform shone with a golden luster under the candlelight. He frowned and asked, "Is everything ready?" Zhang Wei cupped his fists and said, "Ready, the frontline troops have already retreated." "Where's His Highness?" Xia Hosang personally led 3,000 Imperial Army brothers to protect him, but His Highness insisted on retreating with the army, so he didn't leave in advance. Feng Jixing frowned. Her Highness is like a bright star that can illuminate the three armies and raise the morale of the Empire's soldiers. But she's being too willful at this time. If she doesn't leave, she'll drag the three armies down. Go immediately, protect His Highness and retreat immediately. Say that it's my order. Yes, I'll go. Zhang Wei cupped his fists and retreated. Feng Jixing walked out of the barracks with his saber in hand, only to see that the soldiers around him were already packing up and preparing to retreat. At this moment, a shout suddenly came from afar. A scout galloped over and shouted, "General Feng, something bad has happened. The demons are attacking at night." Attacking at night? How long will it take? In the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. How can they be so fast? The armored demons need at least an hour to run here. It's not the armored demons, it's the heavy cavalry of the demons. What? The demons have heavy cavalry? Yes. The scout panted and said, "At least 30,000 heavy cavalry." This lowly one vaguely saw that some of the heavy cavalry were humans. They should be formed by the slaves of the demons. Damn it. Feng Jixing mounted his horse with his saber in hand and shouted, "All troops retreat. Brothers of the 1st Battalion, stay with me to resist the enemies and cover the retreat of the other battalions. Don't take any of the supplies and provisions. Destroy all the arrow boxes and ballistae. Don't leave any for the demons." Yes. Over 5,000 heavy cavalries were quickly gathered. Under the leadership of Feng Jixing, they went straight to the surprised troops of the demons. In the distance, the armors of the heavy cavalries of the demons were shining coldly under the moonlight. They were rushing at the temporarily formed infantry defense line outside the camp. However, how could those Imperial infantries be their opponents? They were all killed in the blink of an eye. Kill. Waving his wind chopper saber, Feng Jixing took the lead and rushed out. Thousands of cavalries behind him also rushed out fearlessly. In the blink of an eye, they fought with a group of high-level demons and human cavalries. Blood quickly spread in the camp. After the cavalries, the armored demons corps quickly arrived. In the dark, it was impossible to resist the attack of the armored demons. The camp of the Imperial Army collapsed in the blink of an eye. The camp of hundreds of thousands of people was smashed. Everyone could only protect themselves and escape. Under the starlight, the flames in the camp of the Imperial Army soared into the sky. A group of Imperial guards guarded Qin Yin and rushed out of the camp. When they galloped to the edge of the unicorn forest, Qin Yin couldn't help but rein her horse. She turned around and looked at the soaring flames in the distance. Tears flowed out of her eyes. "We lost." Zhang Wei let out a long sigh and said, "What a shame." 230,000 soldiers were utterly defeated by tens of thousands of demons. They couldn't resist at all. Su Yu bit her red lips and said, "Xiao Yin, let's leave quickly. The demons must have already sent out an army to kill you." "Where's General Feng? Where are Xiang Yu and the others?" Zhang Wei said. "General Feng is leading the brothers of the 1st Battalion to bring up the rear. They should be fighting with the heavy cavalries of the demon race now. General Xiang Yu has led an army of Qihai City to break through the south. I don't know the current situation. Your Highness, let's leave quickly. If we don't leave now, it will be too late." "Where else can we go?" Qin Yin asked faintly. Su Yu said, "Further ahead is the main road to Wugu City, but once we go to Wugu City, we will lead the demons who are chasing us to Wugu City, which will lead to the fall of Wugu City. In my opinion, why don't we go north and lead the demons into the Dragon Forest? We can take advantage of the fact that they don't know the terrain to deal with them, and buy more time to defend Wugu City. What do you think, Your Highness? Okay. Qinin nodded. How many people do we have left? There are only about 8,000 people here, Zhang Wei said. Let's go. Yes. Under the starlight, a group of people galloped in the direction of the dragon forest. Along the way, the counties also sent a small number of guards to welcome the empress, but what could they do? Looking at the flashing stars in the distance, Qin Yin blamed herself. These counties would inevitably be massacred by the demons. It was her who brought this disaster to them. But war was like this, and she couldn't do anything about it. The next morning, the sun pierced through the clouds and fell on the blood-soaked land. That night, the imperial army suffered a crushing defeat. Nearly half of the 300,000 troops were lost, and their vitality was greatly damaged. The horses' hooves stepped on the mottled shadows of the forest. Qianfeng pressed the hilt of his sword and urged the horse forward slowly. Behind him, a group of armored demons widened their eyes and whined. No one knew what they were saying, but they seemed extremely impatient. The chariots in the middle were filled with the corpses of human soldiers. These were the provisions of the armored demons. Crash! Qianfeng unfolded a paper scroll, on which was a map of the terrain of the northern ridge. Beside him, a high-level demon said respectfully, Marshal, we have already won a great victory. We have beheaded countless enemies this night, and the armored demon army can already go on a rampage. Why did the marshal order them to gather, but not to let them spread out to look for food? Qianfeng pondered for a while and said, although the human army is weak, the military discipline is strict. The strength of one person is far from being a match for the Protoss. But what about hundreds or thousands of people? Feng Jixing's Qianquan battle formation made us lose more than 20,000 armored demons. Maybe we should learn the tactics of human beings. I restrained the armored demons just to achieve a greater victory. Now that we have entered the core area of Cangnan province, there is no need to kill more people. Pass down the order to gather the armored demons, and continue to advance with me. Yes, Marshal, our next goal is... Qianfeng gently pointed at a small place on the map and said, it's here. Wugu City, one of the richest cities of human beings. It is the capital of Cangnan province. As long as we take over Wugu City, we can nail a poisonous thorn in the territory of the Qin Empire, making them unable to pull it out. Yes. Captain C nodded and said, I will mobilize all the armored demons and go straight to Wugu City. No. Qianfeng shook his head and said, Lian Xiao, as one of the smartest generals of the Protoss, why haven't you learned how to fight a good war? If we can take Five Valleys City with less effort, then why not? Marshal, what do you mean? Qianfeng's eyes flashed a cold light and said, select 1,000 people from our slaves, and let them wear the uniforms of Feng Jixing's subordinates, the Imperial Army. They will ride to Wugu City on horses to deceive them into opening the city gate. Then we will cooperate from the inside and the outside. The armored demon army will attack in one fell swoop. I want to take over Wugu City, one of the 7 famous cities of the Empire, without bloodshed. Yes, Marshal. At this moment, suddenly a winged person fell from the sky. With a pale face he cupped his fists and said, Marshal, something bad has happened. What's the matter? Why are you so flustered? Her Highness Jing, and Her Highness Ning, what happened to Her Highness? Last night, the camp was attacked by the human army. The provisions were burned, and Her Highness Jing, and Her Highness Ning, were also taken away by the humans. My God! Qianfeng's face turned pale in an instant. He said, whose army is it? Feng Jixing's Imperial Army. Bastard! Qianfeng suddenly clenched his fists, his face full of killing intent. Feng Jixing, this bastard, I will skin him alive. On the side, Captain C and Lian Xiao were dumbfounded. Marshal, the 2 princes have been taken away. What should we do now? Carry on with the plan. Yes. Chapter 434. On the 13th of April, a heavy fog shrouded the entire Five Valleys City. At the southern gate, a group of 7 Seas city guards were looking at everything in the fog. The news of the defeat of the main force of the Empire's army in the Unicorn Forest had already been sent over 2 days ago, but there was still no news until now. General Tang Di, who was guarding the city, had a grizzled beard. He was an old general who had followed Tang Lan to battle all over the place, and was now guarding the Five Valleys city. Tuk tuk tuk. Tang Di narrowed his eyes and said, "Who is it?" A soldier holding a pair of inferior binoculars said, "General, it seems to be a group of cavalry, wearing the imperial uniform. The fog is too thick to see clearly. Should we open the gate?" "No, wait first." "Yes." In a few minutes, a group of cavalry covered in blood galloped to the foot of the city. They were holding the imperial purple flag in their hands, and all of them wore the insignia of the imperial army. A Chiliarch carrying a spear anxiously came to the foot of the city and shouted, "Who is the general?" Tang Di walked to the edge of the battlement and cupped his fists. Five Valleys City's 5th-ranked Deputy General Tang Di is here. May I ask who is the general? I'm Zhou Ping, a Chiliarch under the command of Feng Jixing of the Imperial Army. We've been killed by demons. A group of armored demons are chasing after us. General Tang Di, please open the gate and save me and my brothers. Zhou Ping. Tang Di frowned and said, "Do you have the Imperial Army token?" "Yes." Zhou Ping fished out a bloodstained token from his bosom and threw it towards the city wall. Tang Di caught it and examined it carefully. It's really someone from the Imperial Army. Zhou Ping hurriedly looked back and shouted, "General Tang, if you don't open the gate, my brothers and I can only die in this city. Please save us, the Imperial Army, save this last spark." Tang Di's eyelids trembled. "Open the gate. Archers, get ready. Once the demons come, immediately aim and shoot. We must not let the demons take a step into the Five Valleys city." "Yes." The gate slowly rose, and Zhou Ping and the rest hurriedly rushed in with their weapons in hand. But the moment they stepped into the city, Zhou Ping suddenly raised his spear and stabbed a centurion to death. "Take down the city gates," he roared in a low voice. Tang Di, who was on the city wall, was shocked. "God damn it, this is a group of rebel soldiers. Kill them. Use your bows and arrows to kill them." But it was too late. Zhou Ping led a group of people into the city, and Zhou Ping led hundreds of heavy cavalry to the top of the city walls. With a swing of his sword, Tang Di's head fell to the ground, covered in blood. Zhou Ping raised Tang Di's head high above his head. "Tang Di has already been beheaded by me. Don't be so stubborn, or you'll die together with him. Bastard traitor." The group of guards of the Five Valleys city did not care about this. One by one, they rushed up, but one by one, they fell under the blades of Zhou Ping and the other rebels. There were not many guards in the Five Valleys city, and all the elites had been transferred to defend the steel walls. The ones left to defend the city were a group of old generals and veterans. How could they be a match for Zhou Ping and the others? Unfortunately, all the old soldiers on the city walls were killed. The city gates opened, and in the fog, a group of armored demons shouted in a language that they could not understand and rushed into the city with thick weapons. The people on the streets of the city screamed, and quickly became victims of the armored demons' butcher knives. Some of the armored demons even gnawed on the bodies that had not yet cooled. "The demons have entered the city. The demons have killed their way into the south gate. Run. If you are slow, you will die." The people in the city were in a panic. Like an ocean, they rushed to the east and west of the city, but they did not know that the 4 main gates of the Five Valleys city had been sealed, and they could not go anywhere. At the same time, the north gate of the Five Valleys city slowly rose, and the flags outside the city fluttered. The North City Guard stood respectfully on the side of the road, cupped his fists and said, "Commander Yu, please enter the city." Lin Muyu was dressed in the white robe of the imperial forest, full of majesty. She nodded lightly and rode snow-treading into the city. She said, "Bring 10,000 soldiers into the city. Half of them will be infantry, and the other half will be cavalry. The rest will be stationed outside." "Yes, Commander." Wei Chou nodded, and went to make arrangements. Tang Xiaoxi blinked her eyes, looked at the Five Valleys city in the fog, and said, "It always feels too quiet, so quiet that it's a little scary." "Yes." Lin Muyu was also faintly uneasy, but the spiritual pulse technique had extended nearly 10 kilometers, but still could not detect any strong aura. It was really impossible to determine what was going on. Note: The north and south gates of the Five Valleys city are 30 kilometers apart. Situ-san said, Commander, let's go to the north gate quickly. If the demons launch an attack, the north gate will be the most directly attacked. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and said, full speed ahead to the north gate. The 5,000 elite cavalry of the Longdan army camp increased their speed, and behind them were the 5,000 soldiers of the gun and shield camp of the barbarians under the leadership of Prince Huangshi. It couldn't be helped, the physique of the barbarians was tyrannical, and the weight of an adult was close to 400 kilograms. The war horses of the endless forest could carry such a weight, but the barbarian soldiers didn't know how to ride a horse, and their combat power would be sharply reduced after riding a horse. The group of people rampaged, but they saw a continuous stream of fleeing commoners in the distance. Lin Muyu couldn't help but be vigilant, and it was also at this time that a group of imperial cavalry galloped over from afar. Each of them wore the insignia of the imperial army, and each of them was covered in blood. The soldiers of the Longdan army camp slowly stopped following Lin Muyu's movements, and the 5,000 people on the other side stopped at the same time, facing off on the street. Commander? Situ-san cast a questioning look at her. Lin Muyu nodded lightly, indicating for him to do as she said. Thus, Situ-san slowly urged his horse forward with his hand on the hilt of his sword, and said with a smile, This general is the captaincy of the Longdan army camp, Situ-san, leading the Longdan army camp to reinforce the Five Valleys city. May I know who this general is? Zhou Ping cupped his fists and said respectfully, This general is Zhou Ping, a chiliarch of the imperial army. After the imperial army was killed and scattered, I brought my brothers to the Five Valleys city to defend, and I'm here to welcome the Longdan army camp. Oh, a brother of the imperial army? Situ-san's hand was still on the hilt of the sword at his waist, and he said with a smile, Although we're on the same side, let's use the slogan of the imperial army. I'll say one sentence and you say the next, a cloud-piercing arrow. Come. Zhou Ping was stunned and said, Thousands of horses. Your mother. Situ-san raised his hand to pull out the blade, and with a kacha sound, blood splattered, and Zhou Ping's head flew into the air. Situ-san sneered. This is our Longdan army camp's secret code, and you dare to use it? Thousands of horses, your grandmother's leg. Lin Muyu slowly unsheathed the blade and said, Kill, leave no one alive. They are the rebels who have defected to the demon race. Kill. Tang Zhen, Wei Chou Fengxi, and the other generals urged their horses to charge, while Su Jiantao carried his shield, rampaging. These rebels were originally a motley crew. How could they resist the impact of the Longdan army camp? After a round of charge, they were routed. Bang! A loud sound erupted from the crowd. It was Lin Muyu's chaos of the common people, easily tearing dozens of people into a pile of minced meat, and his body was quickly stained with blood. Tang Xiaoxi followed closely behind Lin Muyu, and one firefox seal after another fell into the crowd, killing the rebels until they were wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. With these two sanctuary-level masters, the rebels were no match for them at all. Commander. As they were killing, a scout galloped over and said, The demons have entered the city. At least 3,000 armored demons are wantonly killing the people in the city. Bastard. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth, and said, Wei Chou, take 3,000 people to the south gate, seize the gate and close it. Don't let the demons outside the city enter again. Troops of the Manhuang tribe, get ready, it's time to test the power of the Manhuang tribe's shield. Yes. Wei Chou led a group of people to take a detour, and Prince Huangshi also rushed over with a group of Manhuang tribe soldiers with his shield, and asked excitedly, Commander Yu, we have a mission? Yes. Lin Muyu pointed at the dense armored demon army in the distance and said, Your Highness, those are the armored demons, get ready to fight. The rest of the brothers in the Longdan army camp, and I will reinforce you with white drill arrows on both sides. Okay. It seemed that the armored demons also found that there was a powerful army in the city, and immediately gathered. A group of armored demons rushed over with spears and axes, roaring, Warriors, get ready to fight. Huangshi smashed the huge and heavy shield on the ground, and a group of Manhuang tribe soldiers behind him followed suit, forming a steel wall in front of them. They slowly moved the shield forward, and held the spears in their right hands, the tips of which were glowing with a faint flame, which was the effect of quenching white drill. Although the blacksmiths in Lanyan City were not as delicate and sharp as Lin Muyu's, these spears were enough to pierce through the body of the armored demons. Kill. The Manhuang tribe soldiers sped up, and the shield blocked the impact of the armored demons, which made Lin Muyu, Fengxi, and Su Jiantao dumbfounded. The Manhuang tribe was really powerful, and this was the first time that they saw someone who could forcibly repel the fierce attack of the armored demons. The next moment, the spears pierced forward. Puff, 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 blood constantly splashed out. After a thrust, the barbarian warrior immediately pulled back his spear. His body continued to hide behind the shield. He then used the shield attack tactic to force the armored demons to retreat, and then attacked with his spear. A series of attacks directly made the group of armored demons at a complete loss, which was enough to prove the feasibility of Su Jiantao's short training. Bows and arrows. Under Lin Muyu's order, the rest of the people in the Longdan army camp came to the two sides of the battle formation, and the arrowheads of the white drill arrows were shot out fiercely. Soon hundreds of armored demons fell into a pool of blood. Tang Xiaoxi had already entered the form of nine-tailed fox. She gently raised her hand, and a huge seal fell from the sky. Boom! The 10th heaven of Fire Fox Seal, Cosmic Seal. With a strike similar to the power of stars, dozens of armored demons were smashed into pieces while flames soared into the sky. Tang Xiaoxi spun around and dodged the battle axe thrown by an armored demon. With a bang, the wall behind her was directly broken through. She couldn't help but stick out her tongue. Folding her palms together, she roared in a tender voice while golden light fell from her body like raindrops. At the same time, a mark was released. God's seal. Like the light of the oracle, it was another huge energy impact, and dozens of armored demons were quickly turned into powder. Chapter 435. The armored demons attacked fearlessly, but they all died in the hands of the Longdan army camp, the barbarian soldiers Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi. When the last armored demon was beheaded, the battle was over in less than 20 minutes. Clang! The heavy iron gate fell. Lin Muyu ordered the Longdan army camp to officially take over the Five Valley City. Clap, clap, clap. A pure white bird descended from the sky and landed beside Tang Di's corpse. It kept hopping around, but it didn't receive any response. Lin Muyu stepped forward and gently picked up the messenger bird. She took off the tube and took out the letter. A line of words was carefully and clearly written on it. The Tsangnan army has been defeated. Please defend the Five Valley City. The demon army has gone to the Five Valley City. There are about 60,000 armored demons, 20,000 wingmen, and less than 10,000 high-level demons. I will lead the remaining troops to the dragon-seeking forest to protect Her Highness, Xiangyu. It was signed by Xiangyu. This was Xiangyu's letter. Lin Muyu frowned and passed the letter to Tang Xiaoxi, Wei Chou and others. The empire is really defeated. Wei Chou was silent. Lin Muyu bowed her head and said nothing. After a few seconds, she looked up at Tang Xiaoxi and said, Xiaoxi, leave the Five Valley City to me. You lead 50,000 demon troops to the dragon-seeking forest to find Xiao Yin. You must protect her. But you... Tang Xiaoxi blinked her eyes full of worry. She knew the combat power of the demon race, and how terrifying 60,000 armored demons and 10,000 high-level demons were. Don't worry. Lin Muyu hugged her gently and whispered in her ear. Take my commander's seal and take the remaining 45,000 soldiers of the Longdan army camp out of the city. Why? Tang Xiaoxi trembled slightly. I can't let them die here. 10,000 people are enough to defend the city. No. Why not? Lin Muyu looked at her with clear eyes and said, Even though you are a princess, I still have to order you to lead the main force to the Dragon Forest to reinforce Xiao Yin. She needs you more. As for the Five Valleys City, don't worry. I have confidence in the battle against the demons. As long as I stall the demons here, it won't be too late for you, Brother Feng, and Xiao Yin to reorganize the army of the Empire and come to rescue me. Then you must be careful. Tang Xiaoxi didn't say anything else. She turned around and left without even looking back. She was afraid that if she looked at him one more time, She wouldn't be able to make up her mind to leave. Inside the city, the sound of horse hooves could be heard. Tang Xiaoxi had left the city. Wei Chou asked from the side. My lord, can we really defend the Five Valleys city with just 10,000 people? I don't know. Then why did you? We can't let our brothers die with us. It's not a good thing to defend the city with too many people. It will only consume more food. You haven't seen Qianfeng's despicable means of besieging the city. Yes, at this moment, a chiliarch in charge of cleaning the battlefield came forward, holding a metal nameplate in his hand and said, Commander, we found this on the trader Zhou Ping. Oh. Lin Wuyu took it and looked at it. This was a nameplate that all soldiers of the empire had. It was used to identify them after they died in battle. The front of the nameplate was engraved with Chiliarch Shermin, and the back with Yangwei Legion. Suddenly, Lin Wuyu couldn't help but tremble. She had also had this nameplate before. This was the nameplate issued by the Yangwei Legion when they went on an expedition to Winterfrost City. Wei Chou narrowed his eyes. Could it be that this person is from the Yangwei Legion? Shermin. Lin Wuyu gritted her teeth and said, This person is Sherhu's younger brother. I remember. There are still people from the Yangwei Legion who survived, although they have surrendered to the devil race and become their minions. Situ-sun smiled slightly. When people are about to die, they will naturally be afraid. It is conceivable that they will surrender to the devil race. Commander, you don't have to think too much. Not everyone is willing to sacrifice their lives for the empire, such as me. Lin Wuyu glanced at him and didn't speak. This rogue captaincy was the most outstanding in terms of intelligence and military strategy in the Longdan army camp, but his behavior was also the most unruly. Let him be. Gather the remaining defenders in the city, and deploy them to guard the 4 gates. Yes, Commander. 10,000 people from the Longdan army camp were stationed in the city, and there were about 5,000 defenders in the city. In the evening, a group of generals gathered in the big tent of the Longdan army camp. Under the candlelight, Lin Wuyu sat motionlessly on the marshal's seat with her hand on her sword. In front of the table was a map of Cangnan province. In the crowd, a chiliarch of Wugu City cupped his fist and said, I am Zhao Ritian, serving as the chiliarch of Wugu City's Cangnan Army Reserve Legion. At this time, I am already the person with the highest military rank among the original defenders of Wugu City. I will be at your disposal at any time. Lin Wuyu looked up at him and said, General Zhao, how much food is left in Wugu City? There is plenty of food, enough to last for 3 years. Zhao Ritian said confidently. That's good. Lin Wuyu said, pass down the order, let the people dig more ponds in their homes to store water. Why? Zhao Ritian was stunned. Have you forgotten how Xiang Yu massacred nearly 2 million people in Wugu City? Wei Chou said calmly. If Xiang Yu can do that, the demons can do the same. Yes, I understand. Lin Wuyu said. In addition, move all the food in the city to the cellars and brick houses to prevent the demons from attacking from the sky. Also, start forging arrows in all the blacksmiths in the city, the more the better. Yes. You may go. I will take my leave. Lin Wuyu watched Zhao Ritian leave, then looked up at Situ-sun and said, General Sun, do you think this Zhao Ritian is reliable? Situ-sun cupped his fist and said, although he looks ugly, he seems loyal. That's good. Lin Wuyu took a deep breath and said, the demons are about to invade, and the people in Wugu City are in a panic. Come with me for night patrol. Don't bring too many people, just 100 will do. Yes, Commander. The light of the torch shone all around. Many people closed their doors, and more burned paper money on the streets to mourn the dead. Today, the armored demons slaughtered at least tens of thousands of people after entering the city, which was undoubtedly another heavy blow to the hearts of the people in Wugu City. Even Feng Jixing had been defeated by Qianfeng, which made Lin Wuyu very depressed. Frowning, she urged her horse to slowly follow the crowd on the main street of the city. Not long after, they entered the downtown street, where the front was brightly lit. Many people were buying food, clothes, and so on, but after the arrival of the Longdan army camp, the people all showed a look of fear. However, some people's faces were full of jealousy. Not far away, a child about 7 or 8 years old raised the carrot in his hand and smashed it. Pa. The carrot bounced off Lin Muyu's chest armor, leaving a trace of green juice on the spotless armor. Lin Muyu looked down, only to see the child's mother holding the child tightly in her arms, looking at Lin Muyu with fear. She knew that this was a high official, and perhaps she should not offend such a person in her life. Lin Muyu slowly dismounted, came to the child, squatted down and asked, "Child, why did you hit me?" The child's eyes were filled with hatred that did not match his age, and said, "You trash. You are the soldiers of the Empire, but you can't beat the demons. You caused my father to be killed by the demons this morning. You are all trash. You are not worthy of being soldiers of the Empire." Lin Muyu looked at him with a little despair, stood up, and did not speak. The child's mother begged for mercy. "Lord, the child is not sensible. Please don't care about him." It's okay. Lin Muyu smiled and did not say anything. However, at this moment, there was a sudden buzz and a kitchen knife flew in the air and fell toward Lin Muyu's neck, and was forcibly bounced off by the battle armor with a clang. Lin Muyu was angry in the bottom of her heart, and looked coldly at the person who threw the kitchen knife. It was an old man about 60 years old, and he said with a face full of hatred, "You imperial soldiers usually levy and collect taxes, and now that the demons are here, you only know how to hide in the city, and let us common people suffer with you. If you have the guts, go out of the city and fight with the demons. What's the point of being a tyrant in the city?" A group of common people next to him echoed, shouting loudly, "Go out of the city and fight the demons. Don't implicate us. Get out of Five Valley City." Lin Muyu looked at the crowd and couldn't help laughing. There was deep disappointment in her eyes. She turned over and mounted the horse, and said indifferently, "If I had known that I would be protecting idiots like you, I wouldn't have to risk my life." At this time, a woman walked forward and said with a pious look in her eyes, "Lord, you have bled and sweated in order to protect the people of the Empire. They are actually just angry because they lost their loved ones. Please forgive them, Lord, don't punish them. Five Valley City has suffered too much, please." Another man holding a torch said, "That's right, my lord. I'm a retired veteran. I used to be a soldier guarding the border, but now I'm just a night watchman. Lord Commander, please don't vent your anger on these people. They're just blinded by anger." "No, I won't vent my anger on them." Lin Muyu tried to maintain a gentle expression. She knew that once she got angry here, it would not only affect herself, but the people of the Empire. But at this time, the old man who threw the kitchen knife found a brick out of nowhere, rushed over and shouted, "You minions of the Emperor, get out of Five Valley City." The brick hit straight at Situ Senior. Situ Sen's eyes were indifferent, and he waved the sword at his waist like lightning. Suddenly, a head flew into the sky, and blood slowly flowed down the blade. He said indifferently, "It's fine if you provoke a good person like the commander, but why do you have to provoke a bad person like me?" Chapter 436. Situ Sunyu. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. All the commoners at the side were shocked. No one had thought that these soldiers would really dare to kill people in the city. Situ Sun slowly sheathed his blood-stained sword and said calmly, "Commander, Situ Sun is willing to accept any punishment." "Guards." Lin Muyu's eyes were cold. "Put Situ Sun into the death row." "Yes." Two Longdan army camp soldiers stepped forward and removed Situ Sun's military emblem, then brought him to the camp. But everyone knew that there was no death row in the Longdan army camp. Facing the crowd of shocked commoners, Lin Muyu dismounted and held the old man's head in her hands. She said to the soldiers beside her, "Bury this old man well. He will not die in vain. Take out 100 Jinin coins from our funds to compensate his family." "Yes, Commander." Wei Chou cupped his fists and nodded in acknowledgement. Lin Muyu gently placed the old man's head beside the corpse, cupped her fists at the surrounding commoners, and said, "I am Lin Muyu, the commander of the Longdan army camp of the Empire. I hereby promise everyone that the Longdan army camp came to Five Valleys City to fight against the demon race. As long as we are here, no one will be able to touch Five Valleys City. Please rest assured that the Empire's soldiers will die for the Empire. So no one is allowed to attack the Empire's soldiers. Otherwise they will be punished with a heavy crime." The crowd of commoners nodded one after another, a trace of respect appearing in their eyes. Lin Muyu turned around and mounted her horse, then quickly left with the crowd. Wei Chou chased after her and smiled. "Madam, the speech just now was not bad." Lin Muyu nodded. "After returning to the camp, release Situ Senator, otherwise who will fight?" "Hey, I understand." In the moonlit night, hundreds of scouts from the Longdan army camp were released from the city. Everyone in the camp fell asleep in their pajamas. Qianfeng's army was about 12 hours away from the city, which was enough for everyone to rest. Outside the commander's tent, Lin Muyu stood like a statue under the starlight. Strands of starlight seeped into his body. The astral power swirled in his ocean of qi, then turned into soul power and condensed in his yi. He could feel that the astral power in his body was getting stronger and stronger, as if he was about to reach a breakthrough. Closing his eyes, the star jade do qi circulated around his body, causing his cloak to flutter in the wind. Wei Chou and Situ Sun sat on the haystack far away from the commander's tent, watching the starlight and drinking wine in silence. They did not disturb Lin Muyu's practice, as if they were only there to protect Lin Muyu. Until dawn, the stars in the sky had dimmed significantly, but the astral power around Lin Muyu's body had become even more dazzling. His spiritual sense had already sunk into his yi, his feet stepping on the monstrous waves in his yi. Strands of starlight fell into his palms, and then under his control, they floated gently. One by one, the stars rapidly transformed, and with a whoosh, an elegant flower petal grew out of one of the balls of starlight, followed by another, and more. In the blink of an eye, this ball of starlight had transformed into a star lotus full of astral power, constantly lingering around Lin Muyu, nourishing his yi. Lin Muyu could not help but close his eyes, enjoying the star power cleansing his yi. Ever since the 7 luminaries demon emperor had ascended, he had not experienced this kind of cultivation baptism for a long time. Pa. One by one, the stars transformed into lotus flowers, lingering around Lin Muyu's spiritual sense. In reality, the stars seeped out of Lin Muyu's body, slowly transforming into a steel star lotus that lingered, as if to protect its master, putting on a star lotus armor for Lin Muyu. "Oh my god!" Situ Sun was dumbfounded. "Wei Chou, did you see that? The martial arts that the commander is practicing is really mysterious." "I, Situ Sun, have never seen such a mysterious martial art in my life, nor have I felt such strong astral power." Wei Chou nodded and said in a low voice, "The commander is a genius, and under the opportunity to learn such a unique skill, it is the empire's fortune. You only know how to flatter." Not long after, Lin Muyu slowly opened her eyes, and her spiritual sense returned from her sea of consciousness, only to feel that her strength had reached a new level. She gently opened her palm, and a dazzling star lotus condensed in the center of her palm. Then, more and more star lotuses slowly lingered around her arm, protecting her body. It was equivalent to adding another layer of defense outside of her battle armor. Finally, the 4th technique of the star mantra, Star Lotus Armor, was mastered. Lin Muyu was extremely excited. Mastering the Star Lotus Armor didn't just mean that her defensive abilities had improved. She could clearly feel that the astral power in her body had increased to a new level. In the future, the power of the initial starlight, 5 mountains descending from the heavens, and other techniques would also be greatly enhanced. Just as the 7 luminaries demon emperor said, a technique was a technique, and the level of one's own strength was the most important. If one's strength wasn't enough, no matter how profound the technique was, it would only be for show. "Congratulations, Commander." Wei Chou jumped down from the haystack, a smile on his face. "Congratulations, Commander. You've made a lot of progress in your cultivation." Lin Muyu turned to Wei Chou and Situ Sun, a smile on her face. "You two are still here. Thank you for guarding me." "What are you saying, Commander? We're just secretly learning from you." Situ Sun was too honest. He spread his hands and said, "It's a pity that the technique you're cultivating is too profound. Wei Chou and I want to secretly learn from you, but we don't have the strength to learn it. You want to learn the star mantra? I'll teach you." Lin Muyu smiled. Situ-sun was taken aback. Commander, are you really going to teach me the star mantra? Why not? From today onwards, I'll teach you the basic circulation method. It's up to you how far you can go. Wei Cho, do you want to learn it? Wei Cho shook his head. My cultivation is naturally far from general sense. It's better to concentrate on my own martial arts. All right. Suddenly, a rider galloped in from outside the camp, holding a war flag in his hand. He said, Commander, the demons have appeared 20 miles north of Five Valleys City. They will definitely arrive in Five Valleys City within an hour. Good. Lin Muyu clenched her fist and said, There's still time. Pass down my order. Everyone in the Longden Army camp is to go to the city wall. The Spirit Fire Department is to prepare food immediately and send it to the camp. Yes. The wind whistled past, blowing away the fog. In the east, the sun burst out as usual, but the sun probably did not know that a battle was silently descending. Lin Muyu came to the city wall with a long sword and looked into the distance. Five Valleys City had a wide field of vision. She could already see the black mass of the demon army in the distance. There were countless of them. Qianfeng was really going to risk his life. Looking into the distance, Su Jiantao could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. He said, Commander, Qianfeng still has at least 100,000 demon soldiers. We only have less than 20,000 people. Even with the protection of the city, I'm afraid we can't hold on for too long. It won't take too long. Lin Muyu's eyes were indifferent. Qianfeng dares to use the main army to surround Five Valleys City, which is tantamount to giving Feng Jixing a chance to breathe. The Imperial Army can make a comeback. If Qianfeng does not surround Five Valleys City, we will kill our way out of the city and attack the demon army from the rear. Together with Feng Jixing, we can also make Qianfeng suffer a fate worse than death. Su Jiantao was stunned. He cupped his fists and said, Commander really thinks much further than me. Dong 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 dong. The war drums thundered. The demons had indeed made a posture of besieging the city. Tens of thousands of armored demons guarded the four gates of Five Valleys City, while the high-level demons rode their horses and galloped outside the city. They seemed to be very busy. The stars in the sky were all winged people, but they did not approach. It seemed that they were also afraid of a godly archer like Wei Cho in the Longdan army camp. How many arrow boxes are there in the city? Lin Muyu asked. Not a single one. Wei Cho shook his head and said, Only our Longden army camp has brought 200 of them. The arrow boxes are high-grade goods. The defenders of Five Valleys City are all old, weak, sick and disabled. How are they qualified to be equipped with arrow boxes? I see. Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. When I heard this news, my tears fell. Wei Cho and Situ-sun both laughed. On the side, Situ-shui smiled and said, Commander, you still have the mood to joke at this time. It seems that you really have a card up your sleeve. It's not that I have a card up my sleeve. I have no confidence at all. Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes and looked at the demon battle formation in the distance. She said, It just seems that Qianfeng does not intend to attack the city by force. He only intends to besiege the city. Why? They are too far away from the city. It doesn't seem like they are going to attack the city. Moreover, there are no siege ladders or siege chariots. Qianfeng does not intend to attack the city at all. Then what should we do? No hurry. Let's wait and see Qianfeng's next move. At noon, the demonic army surrounded the Five Valleys City. However, a messenger bird slowly landed on Lin Muyu's shoulder. Its feathers were pure white and looked very familiar. Little White? Lin Muyu asked in surprise. This messenger bird actually jumped forward and stood very intimately next to Lin Muyu's cheek. It really was Little White. Lin Muyu quickly untied the letter. On it was Chu Yao's delicate handwriting. You, the staff of the Spiritual Medicine Department, and I were killed and separated by the demon army. Currently, we are protected by the army led by Feng Jixing. General Feng has gathered 50,000 soldiers and hoarded them in Lai City, upstream of Daojiang. I don't know your situation, but Little White will definitely find you. I hope you will reply. Chu Yao looked at Chu Yao's handwriting. Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel warm. She gently stroked Little White's head and said, Prepare a pen and paper. Yes. Taking the pen and paper from Wei Chou, Lin Muyu quickly replied. I led 10,000 Longdan army camp to guard Five Valleys City. It has been surrounded by 100,000 demon army. They haven't attacked the city yet. Tell Brother Feng not to act rashly. In the direction of the dragon-seeking forest, Xiaoxi led 90,000 soldiers to welcome Xiao Yin. There shouldn't be a problem. Sister Chu Yao, be careful. Lin Muyu. After putting away the letter, Little White flew to the north like a sharp arrow. Lin Muyu didn't ask for anything else. She could only pray that Little White could safely pass through the demon army's defense line. However, Little White had undergone special training and could fly to a very high altitude. It should be fine if the winged people couldn't reach it. Lai City? Wei Qiu looked at the letter and said, Lai City is just a small county city. Its population doesn't even have 100,000 people. Commander Feng is stationed there, so I'm afraid he can't help us much. Yes, but we don't have any other choice. Yes. Not far away, Feng Shi flew over and said, Master, there is a demon messenger outside the north gate. He said that it's a letter from Demon Marshal Qianfeng to you. However, he must see you in person to open it. Oh, got it. I'll go over now. Chapter 437. Outside the north gate, tens of thousands of armored demons stared at the city with wide eyes. Meanwhile, the messenger of the demon race was standing outside the city on his horse. He was a 3-star demon grandmaster, and he had an arrogant look on his face. Open the small door and let him in. Lin Muyu ordered. With a creak, the small door opened, and the demon messenger slowly entered. He looked around and into the distance, as if trying to see how many Longdan army camp soldiers were in the city. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. Don't look at me. We only have 10,000 soldiers. If Qianfeng has the guts to attack the city, he can come. I'll be waiting for him. You are Commander Lin Muyu? He asked. Yes. The arrogance in the demon messenger's eyes faded a little. It seemed that Lin Muyu had a good reputation in the demon army. After all, the demon race was also a race that worshipped the strong. Anyone would look up to a truly strong person. He took out a scroll and said, This is the letter that Marshal Qianfeng asked me to bring to you. All right, I should go back now. Okay. Lin Muyu nodded, indicating for him not to shoot. Killing a mere messenger would make her feel guilty. She was afraid that Qianfeng would really attack the city in a fit of anger. She opened the scroll and saw Qianfeng's handwriting. To be honest, Qianfeng was a demon, but his handwriting was still much better than Lin Muyu's. To Commander Lin Muyu. I never thought that we would meet again like this after our last parting. Commander Yu is an outstanding person in the human empire, but as the saying goes, a wise man submits to circumstances, and a good bird chooses a tree to nest in. The human empire is declining day by day, and Commander Yu has been ostracized and humiliated. Qianfeng pays his special respects. As long as Commander Yu is willing to serve the Demon King, Qianfeng will definitely recommend you as the third marshal of the celestial race. Furthermore, Qianfeng promises not to harm the Empress Qin Yin at all. The fate of the human race is coming to an end, and I hope that Commander Yu can reconsider. Qianfeng of the God race, Lin Muyu could not help but smile. Wei Qiu said, If I'm not wrong, it should be a letter urging us to surrender, right? Yeah. Lin Muyu raised her hand. Starlight danced and directly tore the letter into pieces. She said, Prepare a pen and paper. I want to write a reply to Qianfeng. Yes. A soldier picked up a pen and paper. Lin Muyu quickly wrote down 4 large characters in a flamboyant style. After sealing it, she handed it to a scout and said, Take the staff and personally deliver this letter to the demon Marshal Qianfeng. Yes, Commander. In the main camp of the devil race, Qianfeng sat on the marshal's seat with a frown. In front of him, a group of high-ranking generals stood on both sides. A voice came from outside. Lin Muyu replied. Oh. Qianfeng raised his head and said, Bring it up quickly. Yes. When the letter was unfolded on the marshal's desk, there were 4 large characters written in flamboyant style, Grenade-throwing towers plot. Qianfeng frowned and said, Grenade-throwing towers plot? What does this mean? What is Lin Muyu's intention in writing these 4 characters? Captain Si Lianfu said. Marshal, could it be a language that humans have developed over the years? I don't know. Qianfeng said. Someone bring these 4 characters to the counselor and the human sages. I need to know what secrets Lin Muyu has in writing them. Yes. On the side, Lianfu said. Marshal, are we just going to surround the city like this? Why don't we attack the city as soon as possible? I heard that there are not many defenders in the city. Lin Muyu is just putting on a show. I know. Qianfeng's eyes shot out a ray of light. He said lightly, but Lin Muyu is a talented general. If he can be used by the Protoss, why should we worry about the world being unjust? Moreover, we have already lost a lot of troops to Feng Jixing in the decisive battle in the Unicorn Forest. Our military strength is only half of what it was originally. We can no longer attack the city by force. Then what does the marshal mean now? Trap the 5 Valleys city and force Lin Muyu to surrender. In addition, send a letter to Lingnan and order Lei Chong to withdraw the main Jia demon army. If Lin Muyu does not surrender to us, then let Lei Chong smash his head with his warhammer. If this person cannot be used by the Protoss, then he cannot be left alive. Qianfeng's eyes were full of killing intent. Yes. Lianfu, gather the human army that has surrendered to us. Gather all the people in Songnan province. Oh, what is the marshal's intention? Lianfu looked puzzled. Qianfeng's fingers slowly moved on the map. He said lightly, build a simple city every 5 miles along this line and stock up the food that the Jia demons like to eat. The more the better. Since Lin Muyu wants to delay our march north in the 5 Valleys city, then we will do as he wishes. I will divide the territory of the empire into 3 parts. The Protoss, the empire, and the Iha country will each have a share. We will nibble away at them step by step until the world is one. Yes. Lianfu cupped his fists. There was a trace of embarrassment on his face. He said, Marshal, there is still no news from Her Royal Highness. You see, I don't know if Her Royal Highness is in the 5 Valleys city. It's possible. Qianfeng looked up at an old demon on his left. This old demon was wearing 5-star emblems on his collar. He was a 5-star demon master. Qianfeng cupped his fists and smiled. Then I will trouble Elder Lian Hai to sneak into the 5 Valleys city tonight, and find out if Her Royal Highness and Her Royal Highness are in the city. If they are, I will immediately break into the city. Lian Hai raised his eyebrows and said, Marshal, do you want me to kill Lin Muyu? No. Qianfeng shook his head and said, Lin Muyu is far more powerful than you can imagine. It's best to avoid her if you can. However, there are very few people in the demon army who can fly over cities. That's why we have to trouble Elder Lian Hai to make a trip there. I know. Lian Hai stood up and bowed. This old man will not fail you. Good, I wish Elder success. At night, the entire 5 Valleys city fell into silence. Whoosh. A silhouette descended from the sky. The winged people in the sky quickly flapped their wings and left. The black silhouette landed in the middle of the city. Landing on the roof of a tavern, the old man lifted his cloak and covered his face. Then he leaped down and blended in with the drunken mercenaries in the city. Under the light, a burly mercenary could be seen with his right arm around the waist of the tavern's maid, and his left hand holding a jug of wine. His face was full of smiles as he asked, Little Ling Ling, are you really not going to sleep with me? The maid smiled. Next time, next time. Today's business is too busy. Take care. Hanadi. The mercenary was already very drunk. He gently patted the maid's buttocks before stumbling into a dark alley. Suddenly, he stumbled back and bumped into an old man. The old man's body was ice cold. The mercenary couldn't help but shiver as he sobered up a bit. He smiled and said, Old man, thank you. You're welcome. Lian Hai smiled faintly. Master, I have something to ask you. Oh, what is it? Where is the Longdan army camp? In the Holy Palace in the north of the city. Thank you. No, wait. The mercenary grabbed the old man's shoulder and said, Why are you going to the Longdan army camp? Old man, are you a spy sent by the demon race? Hey, you guessed it right. Refining C grabbed the mercenary's hand, and before he could cry out in pain, A wave of ice-profound energy engulfed the mercenary's entire body, and he was instantly frozen into an icicle. Refining sea gently pushed the mercenary's body, and the mercenary's body immediately turned into a pile of broken ice and fell into the alleyway beside the tavern. No one would notice it at all. Lian Hai tightened his cloak. With a cruel grin on his face, he murmured to himself, Lin Muyu, this old man is going to see how powerful you are. The human commander that even Qian Feng and Lei Chong, the two marshals, couldn't stop praising you. In the Longdan army camp, deep inside the camp, the commander's tent was still empty. As usual, Lin Muyu was standing outside the tent, absorbing the power of the stars while Situ Sun was standing next to her. Following the method taught by Lin Muyu, he began to practice the star arts. However, the first step was to absorb the stars into his body. No matter how hard Situ Sun tried, he couldn't absorb the scattered stars into his body. Commander, this is too difficult. The stars are unpredictable, and I'm not familiar with them. Situ Sun was annoyed. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. Don't worry. In order to absorb the stars into my body, I've been practicing for 3 years. You're still far from it. Take your time. Although it's hard to get started, once you master the star arts, you know how powerful it is. Situ Sun lowered his head and continued to stand there, looking up at the starlight. Swoosh. In the wind, a flash of ice fell from the sky. It was a sword, a cold and sharp blade wrapped in frost. F***ck. Situ Sun's body suddenly trembled and he hurriedly leaned back. At the same time, he lifted his battle boots and kicked the wrist of the attacker with the changing heart spell. However, the attacker's speed was faster. The long sword shook lightly, and the Master Devil Force easily neutralized Situ Sun's changing heart spell. The attacker turned and kicked heavily against Situ Sun's kick. Bang! With just one hit, Situ Sun, a third Sky of Heaven realm expert, spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. His face was pale. Commander, someone sneak attacked me. I'll leave it to you. I'll go back first. Just as Lian Hai landed on the ground, he felt a chill coming from behind him. Golden light shone brightly. It was Lin Muyu's bare-handed starlight strike. It was also the starlight strike that was imbued with the power of the god-binding chains. Bang! He hurriedly turned around and blocked the attack with his sword. However, he was forced back by Lin Muyu's iron fist. The blue starlight shone on a handsome face. Lin Muyu's eyes were cold. Who are you? Lian Hai sneered. Your grandpa of the celestial race is here to take your dog life. Not going to say my name? Then I'll be a nameless ghost. Lin Muyu's palm grasped in the void. In the next second, the dazzling star lotus armor appeared around her. At the same time, her sword was unsheathed. She raised her hand and slashed at Lian Hai. Light-splitting slash. Chapter 438. Bang! The dragon spirit sword heavily slashed onto the Grandmaster demonic energy, sending out a powerful backlash. However, a ray of light separated from the blade of the sword, passing through the Grandmaster demonic energy, and smashing onto Refiner Hai's chest. Immediately blood blossomed. Refiner Hai had already suffered from the spectral slash, due to his carelessness. However, Lian Hai's cultivation was very profound. His skin and muscles were clearly tempered, so the light-splitting slash could only cause light injuries. Just when Lin Muyu was about to retreat, Lian Hai suddenly let out a roar and lowered his body. His right leg was filled with the master-level devil power, and kicked out heavily. At the same time, he flipped his body in the air and swept his sword across the air. Lin Muyu did not expect the elder to be able to counterattack so quickly. She raised her knee, which was enveloped by the golden gourd, and forcefully blocked Lian Hai's kick. At the same time, she pulled back her dragon spirit sword and blocked Lian Hai's attack. Ding! The sharp sound of blades clashing against each other made Lin Muyu take a few steps back. The master-level devil power was indeed very powerful. Even though this elder's cultivation was weaker than Qianfeng's, the difference was not that big. Who are you? Lin Muyu said faintly. Her entire body was enshrouded in starlight, and golden god-binding chains circled around her body like dragons. Lian Hai said blandly, I am a member of the Elder Council of the God Race, Lian Hai. Under the order of Marshal Qianfeng, I am here to check if the two princesses are in the human military camp in the Five Valley City. It seems like you didn't even check, but came directly for me. Lian Hai smiled. That's right, I want to take your dog life first, then find the two princesses. Then you are destined to be disappointed. Lin Muyu's blade was slightly shaking because of the battle light. She said with a smile. Everyone, don't do anything. I want to take care of this demon race elder alone. Wei Chou said to Shui, don't shoot unless I can't beat him. Wei Chou had already pulled his demon-devouring bow. Commander, put it down. If this old guy dares to enter the Longdan army camp, he will not be able to leave alive. We have already surrounded this place. White drill arrows are on standby. Okay. Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. She knew that the white drill arrow wouldn't be able to kill a high-ranked demon so easily, especially a powerful being like Lian Hai, who possessed master-level demonic power. The rotational force produced by the master-level demonic power could distort the arrow's trajectory, so even the white drill arrow wouldn't be able to harm them. The dragon spirit sword glowed with a brilliant blue light. The first appearance of starlight was ready to be unleashed. At the same time, the seven luminaries' profound energy was stealthily enshrouding the combat boots. Lin Muyu suddenly launched an attack and with a star step, she flew towards refined ocean and swept her sword horizontally. First appearance of starlight. Lian Hai was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Muyu to arrive so quickly, and the energy on the blade was so vast. He didn't dare to be careless, so he raised his arms and shouted, Ice Ray! Streaks of mysterious demonic energy quickly surged onto the blade of the sword, condensing into an icicle that slashed towards the dragon spirit sword. Bang! Fragments of energy flew everywhere. The attack on the blade was evenly matched, but Lin Muyu, who was in the air, took the opportunity to kick Lian Hai's neck. Her ankle was covered with profound energy, 3 luminaries calamity. Lian Hai knew that there was such a kick, but he didn't expect it to be so powerful. His master devil energy was kicked away, and he felt a numbing sensation on his neck. In the celestial capital of the demon race, Lian Hai was a supreme-level expert. Other than the demon emperor, the demon master, Qianfeng and Lei Chong, he rarely had a worthy opponent. But when he came to the human territory, he met a powerful opponent like Lin Muyu. God knows why he kicked him so hard. Lian Hai was a descendant of the ancient humans, and he had been living in seclusion in the celestial gorge for tens of thousands of years. Even though he knew about the 7 luminaries demon emperor, he didn't have the chance to experience the secret art of the 7 luminaries demon emperor. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere. After Lian Hai was hit, he didn't retreat. Instead, he took the initiative to attack with his sword. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Under such a dense attack, Lin Muyu could only use the wall of the bottle gourd and the dragon spirit sword to defend herself. Instantly, she was at a disadvantage. The high-level demon race's swordsmanship was indeed extraordinary. It was far from the human race's swordsmanship on the mainland. Even the imperial sword technique taught by the Sword Elder was inferior to the demon race's swordsmanship. The Grandmaster demonic force grabbed the dragon spirit sword like a pair of big hands, and threw it away. Clang! The dragon spirit sword was shot into the wall not far away from the commander's tent. Tian! Commander! Situ Sun shouted in a low voice. His long sword was filled with the energy of the heart-revolving mantra. Even Situ Shui pulled out her dual blades, ready to help at any time. However, Lin Muyu didn't plan to fight with numbers. Otherwise, he would have already ordered thousands of arrows to be shot. Since he had a powerful opponent like Lian Hai as his opponent today, he would make good use of this opportunity to gain some battle experience. This was also what he lacked the most. After all, there were no rules in this world. It was the same when peak experts fought. Whoever survived would be the winner. The world was often like this. Powerful strength lost to experience, and strength was not absolute. Voila! The Qinkuan bag shone brightly. Lin Muyu directly took out the pear blossom spear. The tip of the spear was cold. He held the spear with both hands and lightly shook it. The power of the spear expanded, causing the cloak behind him to flutter. For a moment, Situ Shui was a little stunned. She stood there with her mouth wide open. Dumbfounded, she said, "The way the commander uses the spear looks so handsome. Wei Chou touched his nose and said, "It has always been like this." On the other hand, Lian Hai's face was full of smiles. He said lightly, "You want to use the spear against me? Little brat, you are courting death. The celestial race's sword art is the bane of the spear art. Don't you know that?" "I know your grandma's leg." Lin Muyu suddenly thrust his spear forward. The first style of the dragon-taming spear art. Seeking the way. Seeing the spear light, Lian Hai was startled for a second. He hastily took a step back and slapped the spearhead with his palm. At the same time, he flipped his wrist and used the hilt of his sword to grab the spearhead. Then he opened his palm and grabbed the pear blossom spear's head like a pair of iron pincers. Lin Muyu also laughed. Suddenly, the pear blossom spear burst with lightning. Boom! An energy storm was created. The strong vibration of the storm shook Lian Hai's hand and the hilt of the sword away. Bastard! Lian Hai's embarrassment turned into anger. He thrust his sword forward. The blade was full of cold light. Lin Muyu secretly applauded. With a light flick of her wrist, the pear blossom spear immediately twisted and turned, coiling around Lian Hai's longsword like a venomous snake, locking spear form. Without waiting for Lian Hai to react, the 7 planets' profound energy within Lin Muyu's body swiftly exploded, pouring all of it into the pear blossom spear, causing the spear's light to shoot up into the sky. One after another, God-binding chains encircled the spear's shaft, and her power exploded towards Lian Hai's chest. The mountain-shaking style's 5 elements, 8 desolation power blasted out together. Bang! The air whirlpool shook violently and the ground exploded. Refiner Hai's body shook violently, and the master-level devil power around his body turned into a cold rain of light that fell down from the sky. His face paled a little as he shouted angrily, "Little bastard, who are you exactly?" Lin Muyu didn't say anything. She shook her spear and stabbed again. Lian Hai was thoroughly enraged. With a loud roar, the ground around him cracked, and his eyes turned blood red. His dark grandmaster demonic force expanded like never before, and the power of his domain exploded. Just his aura alone was enough to push Lin Muyu back. Sha sha sha. Lin Muyu's battle boots glided on the ground for about 10 meters. Lin Muyu gripped her spear tightly. She felt a domain-level pressure restricting her movements. Lian Hai was finally getting serious. He quickly yelled, "Citizen Wei Chou, bring everyone back 100 meters away." Yes. Wei Chou and the others obeyed. The 2 powerhouses above the sanctuary realm were finally going to get serious. This was not a joke. Ordinary soldiers were likely to be killed by the impact of their domains. Lin Muyu held her iron spear. The tip of the spear drooped down naturally. Her cloak fluttered wildly in the wind caused by the starlight battle aura around her body to flutter wildly. The pressure of the sacred domain broke through refined sea's restraints with the appearance of the god-binding chains. A golden light bloomed in all directions like an invisible shockwave, colliding with refined sea's demonic domain's pressure. Bang bang bang. Under the intense distortion of space, the water vats near and far exploded one by one. Strangely enough, the splashes of water did not fall to the ground, but rose up slowly, as if they were being pulled by some mysterious force. Lin Muyu's aura grew colder and colder. The god-binding chain's martial soul was an innate king martial soul, and it could greatly increase the destructive power of one's attack and the strength of one's domain. It was also because of the existence of these 9 layers of god-binding chains that Lin Muyu was able to withstand the domain pressure of her refined sea. Puff! Finally, the impact on Lin Muyu's chi si was too strong. She spat out a mouthful of blood. On the other hand, refined sea was in an even worse state. His face was pale, and the windpipes on his arms, legs, and neck were all cracked. Blood was flowing out of his body. He regretted the fact that he shouldn't have tried to compete with this human cultivator in terms of realm energy. Lin Muyu's eyes were filled with murderous intent. She infused her battle chi into the domain, and it became stronger and stronger. 80%, 90%, 100%. Finally, Lian Hai spat out a mouthful of blood. His clothes slowly turned into dust, but he still persisted in activating his Grandmaster demonic force, swearing to fight Lin Muyu to see who was stronger. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. The 7 planets' profound energy turned into starlight, and infused it into the domain. Fight. 6 planets tribulation. 110%. Liao Hai screamed in pain. His entire right arm was crushed by the domain, and his long sword fell to the ground with a clang. Lin Muyu mercilessly activated the 7 glorious stars transformations Xian energy, and infused it into her domain, causing the source of energy to exceed its peak. 150%. Bang. A deafening sound rang out. Under the pressure of the domain, Refined C let out a muffled groan as his abdomen exploded. His Qi C had exploded. Chapter 439. Plop. Lian Hai slowly knelt on the ground. His eyes were filled with confusion. Lin Muyu's figure was reflected in his eyes. Shua. An invisible force pulled out the dragon spirit sword from the wall. Lin Muyu dashed towards Lian Hai, and with a flash of her sword, Lian Hai's head fell to the ground. The Grandmaster demonic energy flew out of Lian Hai's body and turned into a dark red demonic spirit orb. Lin Muyu immediately grasped it. A demonic spirit orb from a 5-star demonic sect was an absolute treasure for a human cultivator. Refining and absorbing it would at least increase one's cultivation by 1 level. After putting the demonic spirit orb into the Qianquan pouch, Lin Muyu's body shook unconsciously. The 7 glorious stars transformations backlash had hit her. She fell to the ground powerlessly. As expected, the price to pay for killing a 5-star demonic sect was to risk her life. Challenging someone of a higher level was not an easy task. "Commander, are you alright?" Wei Chou flew over. Situ Sun, Situ Shui, Feng Shi and the others also surrounded her, their faces full of worry. "I'm fine." Lin Muyu opened her eyes and looked at them. "I'll be fine after resting for a while. The news of my injury cannot be spread. Hang Lian Hai's head on the north gate. I want to see if Qianfeng dares to send people into the 5 Valleys city to assassinate me." "Yes." Wei Chou picked up Lian Hai's head. Situ Sun picked up Lian Hai's sword and said, "It looks pretty good. Commander, can you bestow this sword to me?" "And take it." Lin Muyu nodded. Lian Hai's sword was indeed not bad. It should be at the 1st or 2nd level of the mysterious rank. Its strength was only second to a saint weapon. There should be no lack of blacksmiths in the demon race. Su Jiantao walked up and took off the space bag on Lian Hai's belt. He reached into it and his face was full of joy. "Commander, we found a treasure." Whoosh. It was another sword, and it was of the mysterious grade. It should be Refinement C's spare weapon. Following that, there was a large pile of shiny gold coins, as well as pieces of dark black currency that looked similar to human diamond coins. "What is this?" Lin Muyu was surprised. Su Jiantao smiled and said, "I've seen it before. It's called a demonic crystal coin. It's said that it's the highest currency in the Tongtian Gorge where the demon clan resides. 1 demonic crystal coin can be exchanged for 10,000 Shen capital coins. Since a Shen capital coin is similar in weight to a Jining coin, its value should be similar. We're rich then. How many magic crystal coins are there?" "More than 100. This refining sea must have made a lot of money. Fill them all into the arsenal of the Longdan army camp, and leave them to General Shui." "Yes." Situ Shui smiled happily at the side. She was the king of mercenaries and the leader of the North Ridge mercenary group. She was also a meticulous person who was appointed by Lin Muyu to be the commander of the 3rd Legion of the Longdan army camp. At the same time, she was also the quartermaster of the Longdan army camp, which was equivalent to the housekeeper of the Longdan army camp. Situ Shui loved money, but she trusted Lin Muyu and Situ Sun wholeheartedly. She was the most suitable person for this position. Su Jiantao took out a lot of treasures from the space bag. They were all kinds of spars, gems and so on. Thinking about it, as a 5-star devil sect, Refining C must have lived for a long time, and all the treasures he had plundered over the years were now all given to the brave dragon camp. High-level demon clan was indeed rich. After taking out a lot of things and piling them in the tent, Su Jiantao shook the empty dimensional bag and smiled. "Commander, this bag, it's yours, hee. Lin Muyu smiled. A dimensional bag was a rare item. Only the rich and nobles could afford it. When it was almost dawn, the crowd dispersed. Wei Chou and Situ Sun were in charge of guarding the city, while Su Jiantao and Fengxi were in charge of maintaining law and order in the city. Therefore, Situ Shui personally led a group of guards to stand guard outside the tent to ensure Lin Muyu's safety. Lin Muyu lay on the simple bed. He was no longer sleepy, so he took out the demonic soul bead from his Qiankuan bag. Refining this demonic soul bead could not only improve his cultivation, but it could also speed up the recovery of his injuries. Lin Muyu gently loosened his hand. The demonic soul bead floated above Lin Muyu's chest under the power of the domain realm. He slowly took a deep breath. The treasure refining cauldron descended from the sky. Several exquisite refining flames lingered around the demonic soul bead. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu opened his qi and welcomed the rich spiritual energy contained in the demonic soul bead. The essence of power was actually the same. It came from heaven, earth, the universe, and the spirit. It was the same for the devil cultivators. The power contained in the demonic spirit bead that they derived was pure power. It could be refined and absorbed. After more than 2 hours, the demonic soul bead began to decompose. Strands of blue spiritual energy seeped into Lin Muyu's EC. However, this was external spiritual energy, so it was not easy to absorb. Therefore, while Lin Muyu refined his spiritual energy, he also worked hard to strengthen his qi with the Dragon Forging Bone Remnant Scroll. The qi was like a vast ocean. There was a limit to the amount of spiritual energy it could contain. If one wanted to obtain more power, they would have to expand it. And it just so happened that the Dragon Forging Bone Remnant Scroll was a mysterious martial technique that could expand the qi. In fact, the reason why Lin Muyu was able to reach the realm she had today was thanks to 2 great martial techniques. One was the spiritual pulse technique, which tempered the soul. The other was the Dragon Forging Bone Remnant Scroll, which tempered the qi. After an unknown amount of time, the demonic soul bead left behind by refined qi became smaller and smaller. Most of the spiritual energy had been refined and absorbed by Lin Muyu. However, this process was not equal. Lin Muyu could only refine about 20% of the spiritual energy contained in the demonic soul bead for her own use. The rest had all dissipated into the wind. Moreover, the power contained in the demonic soul bead was less than half of refined qis. Otherwise, if Lin Muyu killed a few more 5-star demon ancestors, she would be able to step into the god realm. Finally, the last demonic soul bead slowly dissipated into spiritual energy and seeped into Lin Muyu's qi. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. Countless golden battle lights swirled around her body and entered her qi. Her qi was filled with a surging feeling. This was a realm that she had never reached before. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. At the same time, the feeling of weakness brought about by the 7 glorious stars transformation had been mostly dispelled. Unable to contain his joy, he leaped off the bed and let out a low shout. In an instant, streaks of fiery red battle lights surrounded him, making him look extremely domineering and powerful. Brilliant sun battle lights. He had already stepped into the peak of the first heavenly layer of the Saint Realm, and was only a step away from the second heavenly layer. Hua! When he walked out of the tent, the sunlight was extremely dazzling. Outside, Situ Shui was leading a group of guards to stand guard. She couldn't help but smile and ask, "Commander, have you recovered from your injuries?" Lin Muyu nodded and asked, "General Shui, what day is it today?" "April 16th. Ah." Lin Muyu couldn't help but be taken aback. "I've already cultivated for 2 days and 2 nights? That's right." Situ Shui pursed her lips and smiled, saying, "I'll immediately have the people of the Spiritual Fire Department cook and send it over to you." "Commander, you haven't eaten anything for so long. You must be starving." Hearing her words, Lin Muyu actually felt something. The feeling of having an empty stomach and rumbling hunger was not a good feeling. Not long after, the Spiritual Fire Department sent over delicious food. Five Valleys City was rich in resources, and the Longdan Army Camp's life here was also quite good. This time, there was an additional meal for the commander. There were 2 fragrant roasted chickens, a steamed white fish, and 2 stir-fried side dishes, all of which were served in a common copper basket in the camp. Lin Muyu wolfed down the food, sweeping it all away. Then, while drinking the soup, she asked, "General Shui, How is the situation with the demons? It's not very optimistic. Situ Shui pursed her red lips and said, ever since Commander ordered to hang Lianhai's head on the city gate, the demon race began to attack the city. In these 3 days, it was the 4th time they attacked the city and consumed a lot of our arrows. Moreover, Lianhai's head was personally taken away by Qianfeng. Elder brother ordered not to stop them. It's right not to stop them. All of you are not Qianfeng's opponent. And, also, Situ Shui knelt down beside Lin Muyu, like a well-behaved maid, and said with a smile, Yushu reported that Lei Chong led the main force of the second demon army to leave the steel walls of Iha country and cross the Qinling Mountains a day ago. About 110,000 armored demons are rushing towards Five Valleys City. According to the speed of the armored demons, they will reach Five Valleys City within 10 days. We cannot stay here for too long. I got it. Lin Muyu nodded and said, order the local military staff of Five Valleys City to make a sand table. I want a specific sand table of the entire Songnan province. The more detailed the better. It must be completed within half a day. Yes. When Lin Muyu climbed up the northern city wall, Wei Chou, Situ-sun and the others respectfully saluted. Wei Chou said with a smile, it seems that Commander's complexion has recovered well. Yes, how is the situation? Lin Muyu asked with a smile. Situ-sun pointed to the north and said, Darren, how far can you see as far as you can see? 20 miles away. Then in a place further away, the demon race has built dozens of mud cities. Each city has thousands of demon troops. Our road back to Lanyan City has been cut off. Is it Qianfeng who ordered to build the city? Other than him, who else would it be? Situ-sun touched his nose and said resentfully, in another 10 days, the 2 demon legions will attack Five Valleys City from the front and back. At that time, we will definitely die without a burial place. Yes. Lin Muyu let out a long sigh and said, have you received Commander Feng Jixing's reply? Is there any news from Her Highness Yin's side? General Feng's letter has arrived, telling us to exchange information at any time. There is no news from Her Highness Yin's side. It is chaotic, but the main force of the demon race is attracted to Five Valleys City by us. I believe that Her Highness Yin will be fine with Princess Xi's protection. Yes. Lin Muyu unfolded the map and looked at it. How close is the Rice River Valley to Five Valleys City? 3 miles. Wei Chou said. Every night, send people out to dig and bring the water from Rice River to the city. Yes. Chapter 440. In the evening, the Nephilim attacked the city again, leaving behind hundreds of Jia demons' corpses before fleeing. It seemed that Qianfeng did not intend to attack the city by force, or perhaps he had other plans. In the Nephilim camp, a group of high-ranking military officers were waiting for their orders. Qianfeng placed his palm on a cup of tea. Feeling the steam, he asked without raising his head, is there any news about the 2 princes? Not yet. Lian Xiao cupped his fist. The princes were captured by the Imperial Navy's warship. The warship was sailing on the Dao River. When our winged people found it, there was no one on board. Humph. Qianfeng lightly slapped the table and said, if we can't find the 2 of them, then we can just wait to lose our heads together. Also, when will the whole army arrive? Those water ghosts? Lian Zhao's expression was a bit disdainful. Horseshoe people are born stupid. They don't know how to communicate, so there is no news of them for the time being. But 2 months ago, they reached the eastern shallow sea area of Lingdong province. If they didn't get lost, they should have entered the Dao River basin of Songnan province. Sharpening small, sharp blades. Commander, what do you need these for? To equip the whole army, Qianfeng lightly said. Lin Muyu has begun to excavate the Dao River. Needless to say, he knew that we were building a city and gave up on the land, so he plans to retreat through the Dao River. Heh, if he really wants to retreat through the water, then he is courting death. The Ho army can easily cut through any imperial ship. I want Lin Muyu to lose his reputation on the Dao River. Quickly arrange for the weapons to be forged, and contact the Ho people. Tell them to hold their breath, don't show their heads, otherwise Lin Muyu's eyes and ears will be able to sense them. Yes. Note. Ho, underwater swordtail. In the western part of the Five Valleys city, a huge iron gate that was laid flat on the ground slowly opened, bringing with it a thick cloud of dust. Under the illumination of the torch, Lin Muyu calmly stepped into the ground under the protection of Wei Chou, Situ Sun, Situ Shui, and the others. The original Chiliarch of Five Valley City, Zhao Ritian, held up the torch and said respectfully, "This shipyard was built 300 years ago. Because it's hidden underground, very few people know about it except for the governor. We only discovered it recently." The underground space was very spacious. In the distance, warships could be seen stranded on the ground. The water in the underground shipyard had long dried up. "When did you find out?" Lin Muyu asked. "Just this morning. A few children accidentally discovered this place when they were playing. This subordinate has protected this place very well and has not touched it at all." "Really?" Lin Muyu looked at the footprints on one of the warships and could not help but smile to herself. She said, "Come, let's go on the ship and have a look." When everyone boarded the first warship, they realized that it was filled with chests. Wei Chou walked forward and pried open the first chest. Golden light shone brightly inside. It was actually filled with Jin coins. "Oh my god!" Situ Shui's beautiful eyes were about to burst out with golden light. Zhao Ritian said, "These warships belong to Hu Tianning." "I see." Lin Muyu smiled. It should be Hu Tianning who wanted to use the warships to transport the gold coins out of Five Valley City. In the end, he was secretly shot and killed by my father before he could leave Five Valley City. Let's count how many Jinhuan coins there are here. Wei Chou counted silently and said, "Madam, these warships are filled with Jinhuan coins. From the looks of it, there are at least 20 million Jinhuan coins." Situ Shui could not help but laugh. "Wow, we're really rich this time," Lin Muyu said. "These are all illegally obtained by Hu Tianning from the gold mines. We can't touch them. Wei Chou, send someone to move all the gold coins off the warships. We need to use these warships to escape. We can't bring so many Jinhuan coins with us." "Ah, Commander, don't want it? Don't you want the money?" Situ Shui was a little unhappy. Lin Muyu could not help but look at her with a smile. "General Shui, don't worry. Just not for the time being. After we defeat the demons, this place will naturally be our territory. It won't be too late to come back and move it." Wei Chou took a deep breath and said, "Madam, forgive me for being blunt. This Five Valley City was originally ruled by Xiangyu, so it's equivalent to Dukeland's territory. However, Xiangyu and Dukeland's generals have basically all died in battle. If we leave, it's best to leave some people to guard Five Valley City. This way, after we defeat the demons, Five Valley City will be ours. Our surname is Qin and not Tang." "That's what I was thinking." Lin Muyu nodded. "Choose one Chiliarch from the Longden army camp to be the commander of the army in Five Valley City. Zhao Ritian will be appointed as the deputy commander. Then choose 10 centurions to be the Chiliarchs of Five Valley City. Integrate all the city guards and security forces in Five Valley City. In the future, this army will only listen to me and Her Majesty." Wei Chou smiled and nodded. "I will do it immediately." Late at night, the underground dock was bustling with activity. The people from the Longden army camp were moving boxes of Jinhuan coins at lightning speed. They also brought water from Daojiang and launched nearly 50 warships in the dock. They were only waiting for Lin Muyu to give the order to retreat from this dangerous place. After all, no one was willing to stay here and wait for death. In the commander's tent, Situ Shui personally held a candle and followed behind Lin Muyu to illuminate the terrain on the sand table. Lin Muyu looked at it again and again. Finally, his gaze fell on a basin between Five Valley City and Lai City. He pressed his index finger on it and asked, "Where is this?" A military advisor from Five Valley City cupped his fists and said, "Reporting to Commander, this basin is called Wildfire Plain." "What's the altitude?" 1025 meters. "What's the altitude of Daojiang River?" 10 meters. "According to the current season, it should be 1024 meters. "That's too low," Lin Muyu frowned and said. "How high are the embankments on both sides of Daojiang River?" It's 100 meters higher than the water surface. It was built by the order of the Radiant King 20 years ago. Oh, Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel excited. He looked up at the sky and said, "Father helped me again." "Commander, what do you mean?" Situ Shui was at a loss. Lin Muyu smiled and didn't say anything. He continued to ask, "Advisor, how big is the area of Wildfire Plain? How is it compared to the amount of water in Daojiang River?" The advisor frowned and said, "This needs to be measured. Otherwise, this subordinate wouldn't dare to speak nonsense. There's no time to measure. Tell me what you think is the most accurate ratio." "Yes." The advisor cupped his fists and said, "Commander, the water basin of Daojiang River is very wide and rapid. According to the area of Wildfire Plain, if you want to store 1 meter of water in Wildfire Plain, you need to store at least 3 meters of water in Daojiang River and water it for half an hour. According to Commander's strategy, if you want to implement it, you need to store at least 5 meters of water in Wildfire Plain. Therefore, you need to store 3 meters of water in Daojiang River and water it for half an hour. Moreover, this is only an optimistic estimate." "I understand." Lin Muyu nodded his head in approval. "You've worked hard. You can't tell anyone about this. Once you succeed, you'll have made a great contribution." "I thank Commander for your guidance." Lin Muyu looked at the terrain on the sand table again. The advisor smiled and pointed at the Daojiang River and said, "This place is only 5 miles away from Lai City where Commander Feng Jixing is stationed. There used to be a dam here. It was called the Lai City Dam. Later on it was pushed down. However, there are still some mud bricks left. If we use 100,000 soldiers and civilian workers, we can build the dam in 3 days." "Good." Lin Muyu slapped the table and said, "Get a pen and paper. I want to write a letter to Brother Feng." Situ Shui listened with a blank face and said, "Yes. Also, pass down my order. Look for lightwood in 5 Valleys City. Every soldier in Longdan Army Camp must carry a piece of light wood. The size of the wood must be big enough to float on the water." "Yes." The next morning, the messenger bird Little White flapped its wings and landed on the window sill of a small courtyard in Lai City. It chirped a few times. A female staff of the elixir department gently carried Little White and knocked on the door. "Great Deacon, the messenger bird is here." "Really?" Chu Yao got up and excitedly took the messenger bird from the female staff. Lin Muyu's handwriting could be clearly seen on the letter, even though it was for Feng Jixing. "Let's go. Follow me to see General Feng." "Yes." She put on the cloak of the elixir department's great deacon and galloped to the south of Lai City. In the casualty camp, many soldiers who were injured in the battle with the demons were recuperating. Meanwhile, Feng Jixing was inspecting the training in the shooting range. When Chu Yao arrived, Feng Jixing immediately turned around and said, "What's wrong, Yao? You have sent a letter. Quick, let me see it." "Yes." Feng Jixing opened the letter and read every word carefully. His face couldn't help but be filled with excitement. "What did you say, General Feng?" "Ha ha ha." Feng Jixing laughed. His eyes were full of fighting spirit as he said, "In this world, I'm afraid only you can think of such a crazy strategy. Men, immediately gather all the cloth bags and sacks in the city. Take out all the cloth and make them into sandbags and fill them with sand. Use all the manpower we can and do it immediately. This is the highest order of Lai City and even the Empire." "Yes, Commander." Feng Jixing looked in the direction of the 5 Valleys City in the south and said, "I hope it will succeed this time. As long as it succeeds, you will have made a great contribution." "What exactly is it?" Chu Yao asked unwillingly. Feng Jixing looked at her dotingly and smiled. "It's a military secret. I can't tell you. When we succeed, Yao will naturally understand." Chu Yao was Chu Huayin's younger sister, and Feng Jixing was Chu Huayin's best friend. Perhaps unknowingly, Feng Jixing had already treated Chu Yao as his own younger sister. Chapter 441. On the 17th, in the demon camp. The demon flag with 2 swords on it was fluttering in the wind. The whistling sound spread far and wide. In the central tent, a group of high-level demons silently waited for Qianfeng to speak. On the other hand, Qian Feng's brows were tightly furrowed as he gently dragged his finger across the map, making squeaking sounds that made the nearby major captains feel a little uncomfortable. Have they already led the river to the city wall? After a while, Qianfeng suddenly asked. Yes. Lian Xiao cupped his fists and said, I suspect that Lin Muyu has many warships or fishing boats in the Five Valleys city. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone through so much trouble to excavate the Paddy River. Moreover, our winged ones have heard that there seems to be an underground dock in the Five Valleys city that has not been maintained for a long time. There should be many warships in the dock. Warships? Qianfeng gently pressed his finger on the Daojiang Basin on the map. His eyes turned cold. Good. Lin Muyu wants to bypass our dozens of fortresses through the waterway? It seems so. Humph. Have the Hui people arrived yet? Yes. 5,000 Hui people are waiting for the marshal's order in the water. Very good. Qianfeng pressed his hand on the map and said coldly, Order the horseshoe men to gather here. When Lin Muyu's warships arrive, dig through them from the bottom of the river. In addition, order all the Jia demons to prepare for the battle in the south of the fortress. Once Lin Muyu's warships are pierced through, he will certainly come ashore. We will intercept and kill him on the shore. This time, I want Lin Muyu to be unable to escape. Lian Xiao was a little happy. Yes. Wait. Qianfeng suddenly waved his hand and said, Does Lin Muyu have an army of the barbarian tribe with huge shields that are very effective against the armored demons? Yes. That's good. Qianfeng narrowed his eyes and said, Gather all the catapults and black beach oil barrels we can use nearby. Then order all the winged ones to prepare fire starters. The marshal wants to attack with fire? Yes. Qianfeng clenched his fist. Humans are good at using fire. This time, we will let them have a taste of fire. I want this place to be the burial place of Lin Muyu. Yes. Wugu City, the underground dock. Ding ding dang dang. The warships were launched one after another. Lin Muyu, who was dressed in a white robe, stood at the side silently. Wei Qiu, on the other hand, was full of smiles as he said, Sir, since we have already decided on a plan, why are you still so depressed? Lin Muyu placed her hand on the hilt of her sword and said, Wei Qiu, has a frost-armored horned dragon appeared in the Rice River Valley of Cangnan Province? Frost-armored dragon? Wei Qiu was surprised and shook his head. This kind of underwater beast is almost a special product of Yunzhong Province. Your Excellency, you may not know, but there is an ancient gate over 10,000 years old in the Daojiang Basin between Yunzhong Province and North Ridge Province. It is made of mysterious iron, and is called Yunzhong Gate. It is also this gate that prevents the frost armor dragon from entering the Daojiang Basin of Cangnan Province. Therefore, there are almost no fishermen in Yunzhong Province, but there are fishermen on both sides of the Daojiang River in Cangnan Province. Your Excellency, you don't need to worry that we will be attacked by the frost armor dragon here. Yes. Lin Muyu was still full of doubts. No, I still don't feel at ease. For safety's sake, pass down my order to reinforce the bottom of all warships with iron sheets. We will depart at nightfall the day after tomorrow. Everyone in Longdan Army Camp, get on the ships and head north. Yes. At night, the messenger bird Little White slowly landed in the city. After reading the letter, Lin Muyu was overjoyed. She ordered people to find a bird cage and fed Little White inside. The next letter she wanted it to deliver would be very important, so important that it could determine the fate of the empire. Time flew by quickly. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. On the 20th, the demons attacked the city gate twice during the day, but returned without any results. At dusk, all the soldiers in Longdan Army Camp began to assemble. After careful consideration, Lin Muyu finally left a general to guard Five Valley City. She left Su Jiantao, the creator of the all-shield tactic and one of the few fierce generals in Longdan Army Camp. Only by staying in Five Valley City could Su Jiantao be able to suppress Zhao Ritian and the people who were originally in Five Valley City, and lead nearly 10,000 soldiers in the city to defend the city. The current was turbulent. One by one, the warships slid into the water. The soldiers in Longdan Army Camp led the horses onto the ships one by one. Fortunately, The shipbuilding technology of the Empire was very advanced. These warships were like huge monsters. Each warship could carry 300 to 500 people. Therefore, 42 warships were more than enough to carry 10,000 people in Longdan Army Camp. When Lin Muyu boarded the main warship with Wei Chou and the others, he looked back at Su Jiantao. He only left 200 soldiers in Longdan Army Camp for Su Jiantao, but he was asked to guard such a large city. It was really unfair for him. Commander, you must be careful. Su Jiantao worriedly cupped his fists and said, I will definitely defend Five Valley City. If the commander can win, I can support you. If the commander is defeated, I will wait for you here and defend the city with my life. Lin Muyu stood straight on the deck and gave a standard imperial military salute to Su Jiantao. He said, think twice before you act. Five Valley City is handed over to you. If the Empire can defeat the demons this time, I will definitely recommend General Su to His Highness as the provincial governor of Five Valley City and the governor of the army. Su Jiantao's eyes were determined. He said, I don't do it for fame, but for the dignity of the Empire. Go. Okay. Lin Muyu gently raised his hand and said, set sail, let's go. Yes. The officers and soldiers who served as sailors entered the cabin one after another. They rowed the oars and rowed the warships out. Outside, the water of the Paddy River had already poured into the West Gate. The huge iron gate of the West Gate opened like a sluice, sending the warships out of the Five Valleys City. Not long after, 42 warships rose on the surface of the river, heading straight for the north. The evening breeze blew the imperial purple flower flag on the bow of the ship, and also the white robe of Lin Muyu. He opened his eyes wide and looked at the water in the distance. He slowly opened his spiritual pulse technique, and the sword in his hand trembled slightly, as if it was echoing in joy, looking forward to the upcoming battle. In this battle, Lin Muyu only had 10,000 troops. Even if there were 5,000 barbarian soldiers as a surprise force, there was still a great disparity in strength. It was almost impossible to face the 100,000 demon army head-on. On the side, Situ Sun, Situ Shui, Wei Chou and other generals all had a dignified look in their eyes. Situ Sun coughed and said, Commander, what are your chances of winning? Lin Muyu shook her head. Situ Sun was stunned. What do you mean by shaking your head? Is there a chance of winning or no chance of winning? Lin Muyu smiled. I also don't know. If the heavens help me, we will have a 100% chance of winning. If the heavens don't help us, we will fail on the verge of success. Situ Sun grinned. I feel like I followed the wrong person. Brother. Situ Shui burst into laughter. I trust the commander. He will lead us to victory. Wei Chou also nodded. This general also believes in the commander's judgment. Under the condition of balanced forces, the commander has never led us to defeat. General Sun, please have some confidence in the commander. Situ Sun leaned on the side of the ship like a gangster bargaining. He smiled and said, Commander, if we win this battle, will the Longdan Army Camp count as the greatest contribution to the Empire? Yes. Lin Muyu's eyes were leisurely. If this still doesn't count, then there is no justice in the world. Very well. Situ Sun rubbed his nose. I don't want to become a general or a marquis. I want 200,000 Jinin coins and 5 concubines as a reward. Damn. Lin Muyu glared at him. Is that all you're going to do? Money and women are enough to satisfy you? Why don't you become a general or a marquis? Situ Sun said indifferently. The higher the rank, the faster the death. Unless you reach the realm of Duke Lan and Duke Yun. Lin Muyu was in deep thought. What you say might make sense, but are you sure you can handle 5 concubines? General Sun, are your kidneys really fine? Situ Sen's face turned red. Can this general not use it? I'll just watch, it's pleasing to the eye. Bah. Wei Chou laughed. In the middle of the night, there was only the sound of paddles and the night breeze blowing the flags. No one went to rest. Even the commander, Lin Muyu, stood on the deck of the main warship like a statue. She looked at the twinkling stars in the night sky as if they were foretelling some kind of fate, but no one could see through it. Even the so-called prophets didn't know what the Empire's fate would be. At midnight, The first rays of dawn appeared in the east. At this moment, Lin Muyu's spirit pulse art suddenly showed a dense aura at the bottom of the Paddy River. He quickly opened his eyes and drew his sword. Send the order to prepare for war. Sound the war drums and tell everyone to be on guard. There is something under the water. Archers, get ready. Yes. The war drums sounded. The archers in the Longdan army camp laid on the side of the ship and drew their bows. They aimed at the receding water surface, but could only see duckweeds passing by. After a while there was still no movement. An old general couldn't help but laugh. Seems like the commander is thinking too much. There is nothing under the water. Swoosh! Suddenly, a soft tongue shot out from the bottom of the water and stuck to the old general's neck. It was like the tongue of a frog catching its prey. It forcefully pulled the unprepared old general into the water. Bang! The water rippled. The next moment, countless creatures in the shape of ancient trilobites with shells on their backs pounced on the old general and tore him into pieces. Fresh blood spread in the water. What the hell is that? Lin Muyu was stunned. Wei Chou squinted his eyes. It looks like a kind of catfish. But it must have evolved. It is similar to the snake people of the demon race. I saw the eyes of those catfish. They are full of hunger and violence. Everyone on guard. Lin Muyu shouted. At this time, a ray of dawn broke through the sky and shone on the warship of the Longdan army camp. Swoosh! Another soft tongue shot out from the water and went straight to the commander-in-chief Lin Muyu. It came at the right time. Lin Muyu's reaction was fast. The dragon spirit sword flashed and cut off the soft tongue. At the same time, she opened her hand and the power of her territory separated the water surface. The golden gourd flew out and grabbed a monster from the water and trapped it in the air. It was an underwater creature that looked like a horseshoe crab. However, it had eyes and arms. There was even a dagger in its hand. It struggled violently in the air and let out an ear-piercing scream. It's a Horin, Situsen whispered. This kind of monster is recorded in the East Sea Atlas. They only live in the sea and are the natural enemies of the fishermen. Damn it! Why would this kind of monster appear in the Rice River? Chapter 442. The sword light flashed and the captured nightmare was cut into pieces. The water around them twisted violently, even affecting the route of the warships. In the next moment, countless nightmare heads emerged from the water, each of them holding spears, swords, and other weapons. They surrounded the warships, and the sound of spears striking the bottom of the ships came from the bottom of the water. Damn it! Situsen gritted his teeth and said. These Hui must have been sent by Qianfeng. Are they trying to sink our warships and bury us all at the bottom of the river? At this time, the soldiers of the Longdan army camp shot arrows into the water. Water splashed everywhere. The Hui did not have the defensive ability of the armor demons, but they were all good at swimming. They immediately dove into the water to avoid the arrows of the Longdan army camp. The sound of chiseling came from the bottom of the ship. Even if they were wrapped in iron, they would not be able to hold on for long. Splash! Lin Muyu opened the map and asked, "Where are we now?" Situshue leaned on the side and pointed. "Here, as long as we go ashore, we will almost enter the wildfire plains." "Very good. But Commander, look." Situshue glanced at the shore and saw that there were already some armored demons on the shore not far away. They were running happily with their weapons in their hands, as if they had seen their prey. They were shouting, "Rabba! Rabba! Rabba!" They were probably shouting, "It's time to eat! It's time to eat!" Wei Chou could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Qianfeng wants to eat us. On the left side of the Daojiang River, there was a cliff with 10,000 people on it. On the right side, there was a wildfire field full of armored demons. Above them were winged people, and under the water, there were countless Hui people. At this moment, the gutless dragon battalion really felt that there was no way to go to heaven and no way to hell. "Don't worry so much," Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. "Pass down the order. All warships are to dock to the right side of the shore. The barbarian tribe will open the way and kill a bloody path to the wildfire plains." Yes. One by one, the boats raised their sails and forcefully changed direction, speeding towards the riverbank. This was the main river basin of Rice River. It was not like the tributaries, which were only 300 meters wide. The main river basin was more spacious, with a width of almost 2,000 meters. The speed of the main warship was the fastest. It was the first to reach the shore. Lin Muyu did not even need to lower her feet. With a shout, she landed on the ground with her snow-treading steps. Her longsword released the light of chaos of the common life, and killed 5 armored demons easily. In the distance, more and more armored demons were rushing over. Prince Huangshi held a long spear in his hand and landed on the ground with a bang. He growled, "Warriors of the barbarian tribe, follow me to defend against the enemy." In the blink of an eye, thousands of barbarian tribe warriors were in formation with shields in their hands. Under the leadership of Prince Huangshi, they fought against the armored demons. At the same time, the cavalry of the Longdan army camp also landed. However, in the distance, 3 warships sank slowly before they could reach the shore. Their masts were broken, and nearly 1,000 soldiers were struggling in the water. They became food for the horseshoe man, and blood instantly dyed the river red. "Bastard!" Lin Muyu looked at the river with red eyes. Situ-sun said calmly, "Commander, what should we do now?" "Don't get caught up in the battle. Enter the wildfire plains." "Yes." Lin Muyu picked up the bird cage, picked up Whitey, and quickly released it. Whitey was a very intelligent messenger bird. It knew that there was an army of winged ones in the sky, so it quickly flew away. After leaving the winged one's territory, it spread its wings and soared into the sky, heading in the direction that Lai Chengfeng had gone. The heavy cavalry of the Longdan army camp took the lead, followed by the shield battalion of the barbarian tribe. After leaving the riverbank, they went straight to the north, stepping on the fiery red weeds. There, the war drums were beating ceaselessly. The armored demons were waiting there. At the same time, the armored demons also appeared in the other 3 directions of the wildfire field and surrounded them. It was like an inescapable net set by Qianfeng. Unfortunately, it seemed that Qianfeng did not observe the rise and fall of the water level in the river. At this time, the elevation of the river had dropped by at least 7 or 8 meters, so that the people of the Longdan army camp were covered with mud. Feng Jixing must have stored a lot of water upstream. As the armored demons approached, the Longdan army camp could only retreat again and again. Finally, nearly 8,000 people of the Longdan army camp quickly lined up in the center of the wildfire field. The shield battalion of the barbarian tribe was outside, and the heavy cavalry of the Longdan army camp was in the middle with longbows in their hands. If the armored demons wanted to attack such a battle formation, they would have to pay a bloody price. However, the demons didn't seem to be in a hurry to attack. In the distance, with a squeaking sound, the catapults were pushed to the position by the armored demons one after another. The barrels filled with black beech oil were loaded into the catapults. Wei Chou sniffed hard and said with a frown, "It's the smell of the black beech oil. The demons want to attack with fire." "Yes." Lin Muyu raised her head and looked up. Numerous winged men were hovering in the air. These winged men were all carrying flamethrowers. Presumably, once the black beech oil of the catapults fell to the ground, these winged men would immediately shoot down the flamethrowers. Qianfeng was indeed an unparalleled commander. He didn't even want to suffer a loss. He wanted to destroy the most elite troops of the Longdan army camp. "Brother Feng, you have to hurry." Lin Muyu held the long sword in her hand and murmured silently in her heart. Alai City Dam. The dam had cut off more than 80% of the Rice River's main watershed. As a result, the water level had already risen past the warning line. On the east side of the dam, wooden barrels filled with black beech oil were placed into a deep pit dug in the dam. Burning the black beech oil barrels could cause a certain explosion. This was something that Feng Jixing had witnessed. Only by using this method of explosion could it create a huge wave to hit the wildfire plains. Otherwise, this water attack would be meaningless. "Fire," Feng Jixing said in a low voice. "I hope it works." On the side, Chu Yao, Xiahou sang, and the others were silent. They all widened their eyes and looked at everything in front of them. Dozens of soldiers ignited the fire. Immediately, the lines of fire in the bamboo tubes burned into the depths of the dam. In the next moment, Pung 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 sounds rang out, stirring up clouds of soil and sending it flying. Hundreds of black beach oil barrels exploded, but it seemed that only a hole was blown open. Outside the dam, there was still an approximately 10-meter thick dam arching to protect the water of the Rice River. Heavens, it can't be. Xiahou Sang was stunned. How can this water attack? Let me do it. Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and jumped into the water with his long saber. With a ripple, he had already disappeared into the depths of the water. Holding his breath, he swam to the bottom of the water. Feng Jixing opened his eyes and the battle aura around him danced. Even his martial spirit, the purple electric raging flame wolf, was perched on his shoulder. He suddenly let out a low roar and the long saber was ready to strike. Under the surge of energy, the river water started to swirl rapidly, fusing with the saber force. Boom! A pillar of water rose from the river. Chu Yao, Xiahou Sang, and the others were dumbstruck. Pung! Sky-devouring demon blade. The blade energy burst out and rushed to the sky. It directly turned the thick dam into powder. For a moment, the Daojiang River crazily rushed out. But this was not enough. Feng Jixing knew that this kind of flood was not enough to catch the demon race off guard. He barely stabilized his body. The blood in his body surged. With difficulty, he swam close to the bottom of the river. From 10 meters away, he used sky-devouring demon blade again. Boom! The second dam was blasted open. The river water was turbulent. Ah! Under the water, Feng Jixing could not help but vomit a mouthful of blood. Holding the long blade, he continued to move forward. For the third time, he used sky-devouring demon blade. He knew that at this moment, Lin Muyu needed the power of his Saint Realm. The Empire also needed the light and heat of his Saint Realm. Other than him, who else could destroy this thick dam in Lai City? When he used sky-devouring demon blade for the 7th time, Feng Jixing almost exhausted all his battle energy. After a whimper, his body was washed out along with the torrent. Not good. On the riverbank, Chu Yao squinted her beautiful eyes and said, "General Feng is injured. Go and find him." Xiahou Sang hurriedly mounted his horse. But the endless flood was rushing in the direction of Wildfire Field. Where could he find Feng Jixing? Dong 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 dong. The war drums became more and more frequent. The demon race was about to fight. The armored demon legion was only 100 meters away. But the river water had not come yet. He did not know if there was something wrong with Feng Jixing. They are about to attack. Wei Chou said lightly. Situ Sun held the long sword tightly and said with a heroic smile, "I did not expect that I, Situ Sun, would die for the country like my ancestor. I only hope that my ancestor will not think that I have lost the face of our Situ family when I reach the other side." Definitely not. Situ Shui held the hilt of her saber tightly. Lin Muyu looked back at the crowd and said, "Don't act rashly. Everyone maintain the formation. I will go and disturb the demon race to buy some time. Commander, please do not take the risk." Situ Sun cupped his fists and said, "Listen to the order. Don't say anything more." Lin Muyu's voice was calm. She urged the treading on snow warhorse to leave the battle formation. Suddenly she sped up. A golden light appeared in front of the warhorse. She raised the long sword in her hand and rushed toward the demon race's battle formation. "Oh my God, is Lin Muyu crazy?" Lian Qi's eyes were cold and said, "Let me go and meet him." "Don't act rashly." Qian Feng rode on the warhorse and said lightly, "Even Elder Lian Hai was killed by Lin Muyu. I can feel that his strength has increased by leaps and bounds. He must have absorbed Elder Lian Hai's demonic spirit orb. Let him kill. I want to see how many armored demons he can kill alone. Speed up the filling of black beech oil. After the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, start projecting fire." Yes. With a kacha sound, the dragon spirit sword Qi cut through the heavy shield and cut an armored demon in half at the waist. Lin Muyu rushed forward, and the wall of the calabash deflected the armored demon's weapons. She raised her palm gently, and the 4 luminaries' demon cry broke out of the ground and killed dozens of armored demons. For a moment, the ground was covered with blood. As the weapons danced, the wall of the calabash finally ran out of energy and disappeared. However, it was replaced by a layer of mysterious Star Lotus armor. Moreover, the defense of the Star Lotus armor was not inferior to the wall of the calabash. Even if it was hit by the weapons, it would only hurt but not hurt. However, after killing nearly 100 armor demons, Lin Muyu hurriedly urged the horse to rush back. The demon race did not chase after her, and just let her kill. Dong dong dong. The sound of war drums came from the west. Wei Chou, Situ-sun and the others turned around, and found that nearly 10,000 armor demons had formed an encirclement on the west side. Their spears were pierced with skulls. They were the skulls of the soldiers of the Longdan army camp who died in the battle in the Rice River. It was bloody. Some of the skulls' eyes were not even closed. They died unwillingly. Bastard, bastard. Wei Chou was trembling with anger. Chapter 443. Finally, the demons launched their attack. With the sound of the spring of the catapult, wooden barrels filled with black beach oil flew over and exploded on the ground around the Longdan army camp. However, the demons did not have much black beach oil. At most 200 barrels. After throwing the black beach oil, they began to throw bundles of gray things. Bang! Lin Muyu rode his horse to dodge, and the thing fell to the ground. It was actually a bundle of dry firewood. He could not help but laugh. Qianfeng is really careful. He even prepared firewood for us. Lin Muyu laughed. Immediately, the people in the Longdan army camp who were shrouded in death felt a little relieved. Everyone laughed together with their leader. After bundles of firewood fell to the ground, the winged people in the air also began to light the fire. Flames flickered in the morning light. Get out of the way. Lin Muyu raised his weapon and said loudly, "Leave this land stained by black beach oil." Yes. But as the flames fell from the sky, many people were still burned. Miserable howls rang out incessantly. Nearly 100 people were about to die in this fire. But at this time, cries of alarm suddenly came from the distant demon camp. And the entire formation also changed dramatically. What's wrong? Situ-sun stared. Lin Muyu looked into the distance and saw that the surging river had already passed the foot of the demon's formation in the wildfire field. It was at least 2 meters high and was covering the sky and earth. It's done. He laughed and ordered loudly, "Everyone, throw away your weapons, take off your armors and throw them away. Hold on to the light wood and warhorses you carry. Don't be washed away by the river." The river came so fast that the demons could not escape even if they wanted to. In the blink of an eye, the river swallowed the main force of the armor demon army. Tens of thousands of armor demons were wailing in the river. The water rose higher and higher. When it was more than 3 meters high, the armor demons had already passed. All the armor demons were not good at swimming. How could they survive? God damn it. Qianfeng stood awkwardly on the fast-flowing river, his face ashen. How did this happen? Lian Zhao's eyes were cold as he said, "Lin Muyu, that bastard, he purposely lured us to fight in wildfire plains. Marshal, we fell into his trap." Qianfeng's body trembled in pain. Suddenly, he spurted out a mouthful of blood. He was actually angered to the point of vomiting blood. He looked at the sky and murmured, "Your Majesty Demon King Qianfeng is useless. I have failed the divine race." As he spoke, Qianfeng had already unsheathed his sword and slashed towards his neck. Clang. The hilt of Lian Zhao's sword clamped down on his blade. "Marshal, you are the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies. You must not commit suicide. Don't forget, Lin Muyu has defeated us time and time again. We still have to rely on the marshal to avenge this humiliation. Victory and defeat are commonplace. I believe that His Majesty the Demon King would not be willing to see his most prized disciple die here." Qianfeng stood there absent-mindedly. Lian Xiao continued, "In this water attack, we only lost the Armored Demon Legion. We still have the High-Level Demon Race Legion and the Winged Race Legion. We also have the Hui Legion in the water. We can still fight." "No, we can't." Qianfeng slowly shook his head. His eyes were filled with hatred. "Once our Armored Demon Legion is destroyed, the human army will immediately sweep in. We have lost our spirit and can no longer fight. Pass down my order. All the divine race armies are to gather at the east bank of Wildfire Plains. Send the winged cavalry to pass down my order to Lei Chong. Order his army to meet us 100 miles south of Five Valley City. We have lost our spirit and cannot continue to attack Five Valley City. Yes. The surging river turned the Wildfire Plains into a lake in the blink of an eye. Countless armored demons struggled in the water and drowned. On the contrary, almost all the people in the Longdan army camp survived. In the turbulent water, the crowd was washed to the south bank. The winged race originally wanted to shoot arrows from the sky, but they were shot dead by the Longdan army camp if they were too close. If they were too far away, the arrows would not be lethal, so they could only leave resentfully. The winged race were birds after all. Their wings were muscular and powerful, but their arms were thin and weak. They were far less powerful than the archers in the Longdan army camp, so their shooting range was naturally much lower. Order everyone to stick together. Lin Muyu ordered. Everyone was pulled together in pairs. War horses were born to swim, and the barbarian race warriors were holding a thick light log that was enough to float their heads on the water. They floated to the south bank with the humans. Puff. Situ-sun ruthlessly killed an armored demon that was struggling in the water. He sneered and said, "This is what happens to those who can't swim." Lin Muyu's eyes suddenly turned cold. The dense aura of the spiritual pulse technique was rapidly approaching. It was the blood demons. They had already swum into the waters of the Wildfire Plains. "Be careful. Go ashore quickly," Lin Muyu shouted. After handing Takshu to Wei Cho, she leaped forward with her sword. The pressure of the sacred region split the water surface. Immediately, many blood demons appeared in the water with weapons in their hands. They screamed and surrounded them. "Get lost." Lin Muyu let out a low roar. Without hesitation, he activated the 6 glorious heavenly tribulation. The power of this technique was very powerful, and its range was also very wide. In an instant, the river water soared into the sky. Rays of blazing brilliant sun-do lights tore the daimons to shreds. His sword flashed. Lin Muyu stepped on the river water, killing dozens of daimons. Very quickly, a thick layer of daimon corpses floated on the river water. With a sacred region cultivation, killing blood demons was like torturing vegetables. Perhaps it was because of Lin Muyu's display of power, the blood demons in the distance all showed timid expressions. They bent down and dived into the water, escaping without a trace. Lin Muyu heaved a sigh of relief. She felt the backlash of the 6 luminaries' heaven's calamity. Although it was not as strong as the 7 luminaries' heaven's calamity, it was still very uncomfortable. At this moment, suddenly, someone in the Longdan army camp shouted, "Look, there's a person floating on the water surface. He's wearing the white royal robe armor." Ah! Everyone hurriedly looked over, only to see that person's surroundings were enshrouded in purple flames, as if it was a martial spirit protecting its master. His face floated on the water surface, looking like Feng Jixing, but he had already fainted. "Big brother Feng." Lin Muyu rushed over and picked up Feng Jixing from the water, only to see him frowning. The battle chi in his body was almost exhausted. If not for the high-grade violet electric flame wolf martial spirit protecting its master, Lin Muyu would have drowned long ago. Lin Muyu's heart was in a mess. She hurriedly carried Feng Jixing on her back and dashed towards the riverbank. Many soldiers from the Longdan army camp had already boarded the shore, and even more had already mounted their war horses to kill the demons who were trying to reach the shore. Huangshi was also gathering the barbarian race warriors. After placing Feng Jixing on the grassland, Lin Muyu gently rotated her palm. The brilliant sun battle light seeped into Feng Jixing's body, awakening his Qi and EC. Not long after, Feng Jixing slowly opened his eyes. Lin Muyu's handsome face came into view, and he couldn't help but smile. "You don't tell me we met in purgatory?" Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "Is there such a beautiful scenery in purgatory? Big brother Feng, look, we've succeeded." Feng Jixing sat up, only to see that the wildfire plain had turned into a river. On the water surface were densely packed corpses of armored demons, as well as the corpses of some high-grade demons who didn't know how to swim. For a moment, Feng Jixing was stunned, and after a few seconds he suddenly laughed. "Ha ha ha! Ha 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 ha!" Lin Muyu sat down on the grass, and also laughed loudly. No one knew better than the two of them how difficult it was to win this victory. This battle meant that the vanguard of the demons that had infiltrated into the Empire's territory was defeated for the first time. They were about to retreat from Seongnan province, or else what awaited them would be a massacre by the humans. Not far away, Wei Cho flew over with a messenger bird, and said, "Commander, I've received a letter from Princess Shi. Quickly bring it over." Taking out the letter, Tang Xiaoxi's elegant handwriting was written on the top. "Mu, I've found Xiaoxi, she's fine under the protection of Chu, Zhang Wei and Xiang Yu. How's your side? We're still dealing with more than 10,000 armor demons in the dragon-seeking forest, but with Chu and Xiang Yu's ability, these 10,000 armor demons won't be able to do much. Please reply immediately after receiving Yu's letter." Lin Muyu immediately took out a pen from her bosom and wrote on the back of the letter, "In the Battle of the Wildfire Plain, Qianfeng's main force was almost wiped out, requesting Xiaoxi and Xiao Yin to assemble the army and start a counterattack. We must recapture Seongnan province in one fell swoop and drive the demons to the east of the steel wall." The messenger bird flapped its wings and flew away. Lin Muyu let out a sigh of relief. Finally, it's almost over. "It's still far from over," Feng Jixing said. "Even though Qianfeng's main force is gone, Lei Chong's is still there. Lei Chong still has at least 100,000 armor demons." Lin Muyu smiled. "No matter if Lei Chong really dares to come. Don't Big Brother Feng still have the Qiankuan battle formation? Adding my cone shield spear cavalry camp and wild warriors, I believe there's a certain chance of victory. And according to my understanding of Qianfeng, he, as the first marshal of the demon race, will definitely not fight again after this battle. He's in a mess, and if he fights again he'll only lose. I hope so. Qianfeng's army will retreat. Then we'll have a chance to breathe." And, in the afternoon, a large number of iron hooves galloped over from the north of the wildfire plains. It was Feng Jixing's troops stationed in Lai City. Xia Hosang personally led them to chase after the defeated demon race army. When Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing appeared in the forest, Xia Hosang hurriedly dismounted and respectfully cupped his fists, saying, "Commander, Xia Hosang has brought 50,000 troops, and they will listen to Lord Commander's orders." Feng Jixing nodded. "Everything's fine." Behind them, a beautiful young girl jumped off her horse and galloped over, jumping into Lin Muyu's arms. It was Chu Yao. Lin Muyu hugged this beautiful sister, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Feng Jixing touched his nose and didn't say anything. Chu Yao sobbed. You're fine? This is really great. I was so worried about you, worried that you would die in battle like brother." "Don't worry." Lin Muyu patted Chu Yao's back and said, "We've won this battle. Big sister Chu Yao, your messenger bird Little White has done a great job." And then, Chu Yao wiped her tears and smiled. Chapter 444. South of the dragon-seeking forest, Ji County. This was a small county with a population of less than 50,000. At night, the sky was filled with stars. A large contingent of the Empire's troops gathered at the open space in the north of the county. The lights from the tents were continuous, and the city of Ji County was also brightly lit. It was rare for the Empress to personally visit Ji County, and even the people of Ji County were very happy. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi stayed in the county magistrate's office, and Zhang Wei personally led the imperial guards to guard the perimeter. "Your Highness, these delicacies are the specialties of our Ji County. Look, this is our Ji County's most famous salt and pepper pork trotters. This is delicious chamois stew soup. And this is badger meat with longine vegetables. Please have a good taste, Your Highness and the Princess." The county magistrate bowed and introduced some of the delicacies. At the same time, he looked at the old man at the side and said, "Sir Chu Chu, you should have a taste too. After living in the dragon-seeking forest for so long, it must have been a long time since you had a good meal." Chu Chu nodded and said, "Her Highness and the Princess are having a meal. You may leave. I will call you if there is anything." "Yes." The magistrate bowed and left. Qin Yin slowly sat down with a joyous expression on her face. She took out that piece of paper from her bosom and looked at it again and again. The joy on her beautiful face became even more intense. Tang Xiaoxi on the other hand said in a bad mood, "This is already the 300th time you have read the letter since this afternoon." Qin burst into laughter. "I am happy." Chu Chu also laughed. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing joined hands to drown the demon army in the wildfire plains and killed more than 60,000 armored demons. This is indeed an unprecedented achievement and changed the fate of the empire. It is worth celebrating. Your Highness, eat more. Tomorrow morning, we will set off to Wugu City to meet up with you and Feng Jixing. We will regain the empire's territory. You must conserve your strength. Yes. Qin picked up her chopsticks and picked up a piece of muntjac meat and placed it on Tang Xiaoxi's plate. She said with a smile, "Xiaoxi should eat more too. Right now, I'm counting the most elite troops under your command. The task of recovering lost territory will still be handed over to you." Tang Xiaoxi glared at her and said, "Xiaoyin, we are so lovey-dovey. I wonder what Mu will think when she sees this." Qin was as happy as a bird flying out of its cage. She couldn't help but joke with her good sister. "I don't know. Maybe brother you will be angry to death." Chu Chu remained silent, not saying a word. "Oh right, where did Marquis Pingnan Xiang you go?" Qin asked. Chu Chu cupped his fists and said, "Xiang Yu led nearly 100,000 men out of the dragon-seeking forest yesterday morning and headed towards the direction of the steel wall. How many troops do we have now?" Chu Chu thought for a while and said, "Commander Suyu still controls nearly 100,000 soldiers from Muyu City. Princess she also has nearly 100,000. Together with Zhang Wei, Yao Yuan and the others, we have nearly 240,000 soldiers. Many of them are new recruits recruited from various counties along the way. Their combat power is very average. The main force is the 50,000 demons and 45,000 Longdan army camp under Princess Xi's command. Looks like we really need Xiaoxi to be the main force." "Yes, I will." Tang Xiaoxi looked at the steaming dishes quietly and said, "I think Mu thought the same when she lent me the main force of Longdan army camp." As they were eating, there was suddenly a noise outside. "What's wrong?" Qin asked with a frown. Outside, Zhang Wei came in with his sword and cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, a group of armored demons appeared in the east of Ji County and attacked the city. There are about 20,000 of them. Commander Suyu is leading people to resist. Your Highness, please retreat immediately." "Another 20,000 armored demons?" Qin suddenly stood up and said, "What's going on? Isn't the main force of Qianfeng in Sungnan province? Why did they appear in the territory of Tianshu province?" "I don't know either. But this demon army doesn't seem to be Qianfeng's people. There are a few 5-star demon grandmasters in charge. Commander Suyu, I'm afraid she won't be able to resist them soon." Qin knew the fighting power of the armored demons very well. The arrow boxes and crossbows that accompanied Suyu had long been lost or destroyed. The city wall of Ji County was only 5 meters high and it was made of mud. It couldn't resist the attack of the armored demons. With the crazy fighting power of the armored demons, Suyu's 100,000 soldiers of Muyu City might not be able to resist the crazy attack of the armored demons, even if they were all wiped out. No. Qin took a deep breath, and the peaks on her chest rose and fell slightly. She said, "Little Qilong's Bao battalion, come with me to battle. We can't let Aunt Ro resist the demons alone. Lord Chu, please come with me. There are 5-star demon grandmasters among the demons, and they need your strength." Chu cupped his fists and said, "Yes, Your Highness." Under the starlight, the sound of horse hooves could be heard. They galloped to the east of Ji County. There, fire rose up to the sky. It seemed that Suyu had used fire to attack, but the effect was not very obvious. The piles of fire couldn't be gathered together. The armored demons crossed the wall of fire and slashed their weapons at the shield formation of the Muyu City's defenders. "Block them. Don't retreat." In the crowd, a captaincy of Muyu City shouted loudly, but the price of blocking them was sacrifice. On the front line of the shield formation outside the city, groups of shield soldiers were harvested by the armored demons like harvesting wheat. In the dark of the night, the black armored demons came from afar. They all looked ferocious and horrible. By the time Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Chu Chu, Zhang Wei, and the others arrived, many of the generals guarding the city had already noticed them. All of them had shocked expressions on their faces. His Highness is here. Her Highness is here. The crowd was excited, but it didn't seem to improve their fighting power much. Tang Xiaoxi gently waved her hand and said, Longdan Army Camp, prepare the white drill arrows to reduce the pressure on the Iron Blade Army. Yes, Your Highness. A group of Longdan Army Camp soldiers raised their bows and shot a round of arrows into the distance. The effect was obvious. Many armored demons fell to the ground, howling in pain. Unlike the arrow formation of the Iron Blade Army, the arrows could only bounce off the bodies of the armored demons and couldn't cause any real damage. Qin Yin dismounted from her horse and slowly walked forward. Her battle boots stepped into the blood as she slowly pulled out the Zine sword. With a shout, rays of golden light appeared around her and turned into the shape of a dragon. It was the second stage of the Dragon Slayer incantation, the Coiling Dragon Strike. With a buzz, the golden light transformed from the god-binding chains exploded in the night sky, blasting dozens of armored demons into pieces. The golden light soared into the sky, inspiring everyone's hearts. Long live Your Highness! Your Highness is so powerful. The Empire will win. The group of Empire soldiers cheered in unison, but this also seemed to attract the attention of some people in the demon battle formation. Behind the group of armored demons, there were a total of 5 black-robed old men sitting on war horses. Each of them had 5-star sect emblems pinned on their chests. They were all 5-star demon sect powerhouses. Among them, an old man with a long red beard laughed coldly and said, The god-binding chains of the human martial soul. Heh, it's known as the martial soul of a king. Another old man said, Elder Qi Ji, don't you want to meet this human empress? Qi Ji smiled. Elder Jin Huang, don't look down on humans. Qin Yin is still wet behind the ears, so there's nothing to be afraid of. However, the fire cauldron Chu Chu beside her is very powerful. He's a Saint Heaven Realm cultivator. I'm afraid you and I won't be able to stop him by ourselves. Jin Huang's eyes turned cold. Let's cut to the chase. His Majesty the Demon King sent the 5 of us on a secret mission to coordinate with Marshal Qianfeng and find a chance to kill Qin Yin. Now is a heaven-sent opportunity. How about this? Elder Xuanmi, Elder Zhoutan, and I will block Chu Chu, while you and Elder Lan Fu will kill Qin Yin. How about it? You're the number 1 among the 15 elders appointed by His Majesty the Saint Emperor, and your cultivation is also the strongest among us. You're not afraid, are you? Ha 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 ha. Qi Ji couldn't help but laugh. No need to provoke me. Let's go and kill Qin Yin. Now is the time. Let's go together. Yes. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. 5 figures soared into the sky. Although the 5-star demonic grandmasters couldn't fly, they could stay in the air for a short while. Stepping on the air, they created a blood-colored ripple with their grandmaster demonic energy, and flew into the sky again. In a few leaps, they had charged into the battle formation of the Imperial Army. Qi Ji condensed a vortex in each of his palms and shouted, Die Qin Yin! Not good. Tang Xiaoxi gritted her teeth, and flames burst out from her body as she suddenly entered the 9-tailed transformation state. Meanwhile, Qin Yin flew in front of Tang Xiaoxi, and with a shake of her sword, 3 true dragon god-binding chains appeared in front of her chest, forming the radiance of the sacred dragon shield. Bang! Qi Ji waved his left palm, and the whirlpool within the vortex exploded on the sacred dragon shield. After all, there was a great disparity in strength. Qin Yin's delicate body trembled slightly, and the sacred dragon shield shattered. The god-binding chains turned into golden light and scattered on the ground. The shattering of her martial spirit also meant that her sea of energy had suffered a certain amount of damage. However, she was unwilling to continue being a coward. She forcefully activated her battle chi, and the 8 god-binding chains once again gathered on the blade of her sword. They lingered together, condensing into the shadow of a fiery red dragon, and whistled out. The 4th style of the Dragon Slayer incantation, Golden Dragon Flames. Qi Ji didn't know how strong this style was, but he could feel the biting cold energy coming from it. He didn't hesitate to raise his right palm and smash it down. Bang! The energy exploded, and the impact forced everyone in the surroundings to retreat. Not far away, Chu-Chu had already taken out his fire cauldron, and he was fighting with the 3 5-star demon grandmasters in the midst of the flames. His palm force created streaks of fire in the air, and the air seemed to be filled with Master Devil force, making it impossible for Chu-Chu to fully release his strength. The 3 5-star demon grandmasters rushed to help each other, and one advanced and one retreated to avoid the sharp edge of Chu-Chu's fiery palm. Within a short period of time, he was actually unable to kill or injure any of them. Buzz! Flames enshrouded her body, and the 9 flame tails behind Tang Xiaoxi danced lightly. There was a hint of hostility on her beautiful face. Suddenly, she leaped up and tangled with Elder Lan Fu, and her palm was facing Lan Fu's chest. Soul-suppressing seal. Boom! Lan Fu could only use the Master Devil force to protect his body, but he was still hit so hard that his qi and blood were surging. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. Little girl, you are so powerful. I like you. The flames around Tang Xiaoxi's body spun rapidly, and a divine seal fell from the starry sky, and the cosmic star seal directly hit Lan Fu's head. Good timing. Lan Fu raised his arm, and the Master Devil force surged out violently, forcefully blasting away the energy light of the cosmic star seal. However, when he looked down, he saw the smile on Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face. Her little boots were wrapped in flames, and with a bang, she kicked Lan Fu's waist. It was the simplest attack without any special moves, but it was also the most effective one. The 5 major star demon grandmasters attacked together, and the armor demons seemed to be encouraged. One by one, they waved their spears and axes, and roared as they attacked Suyu's army. The humans had already suffered heavy losses. Under the bright moonlight, the intense sound of horse hooves came from afar, and an old and familiar voice sounded. Godmight Battalion, flank them and kill them. Help Her Royal Highness. The moonlight illuminated the battle flag, which was embroidered with a golden flame. The Godmight Battalion had appeared again. Chapter 445. The Divine Might Battalion was equipped with steel-round shields and spears. Even their horses were clad in armor. Under the moonlight, the tips of the spears glowed with a white luster, as if they were made of refined white diamonds. Puffed, puffed, puffed. The spears pierced into the bodies of the armor demons one after another. However, the armor demons had strong vitality. Unless their throats, hearts, or other vital organs were pierced, they wouldn't die. It didn't matter if the spears pierced their lungs or legs. The armor demons immediately pulled their spears off their horses and chopped them in half with a swing of their battle axes. The Divine Might Battalion quickly clashed with the armor demons. Although they didn't gain any advantage, they at least reduced the pressure on Suyu's army. In the dark of the night, Zheng Yifan's aged face looked very weathered. He held the reins of his horse and slowly moved forward. Beside him, Si Kongnan, Gong Sun, and the other generals were guarding him. This old subject, Zheng Yifan, is late to the rescue. Zheng Yifan cupped his fists towards Qin Yin from afar with the crowd of armor demons between them. His attitude was extremely respectful. But how could Qin Yin say anything to him? Qi Ji's attacks became fiercer and fiercer, leaving Qin Yin with no way to defend herself. Every time she condensed her god-binding chains, it would be shattered. Her injuries piled on top of her injuries, and blood was already flowing from the corner of her mouth. Suyu raised her sword and fought the armor demons in close combat. Her face was ashen. Divine Marquis, is this the only reinforcement you have? It's not enough. Zheng Yifan smiled. Don't worry, Commander Suyu. The reinforcements will be here soon. Huh. Suyu was confused. Bang. After shattering Qin Yin's sacred dragon shield once more, Qi Ji's arrogance intensified. He laughed heartily and said, "Is this all the human's strongest martial soul, the god-binding chains has? How weak. In my opinion, this god-binding chain is just a leash for horses and dogs. What's so special about it?" Right at this moment, a ray of golden light suddenly illuminated the heavens and the earth, and then a voice that sounded like an oracle descended from the sky. Who said that my Qin clan's god-binding shackles are a rope used to tie horses and dogs? There was a silhouette in the sky. It was an old man in a black robe. He stood in the void, and his body was surrounded by the god-binding shackles. Although his face was old, his spirit was hale and hearty. He suddenly descended from the sky and opened his palm. The mighty god-binding shackles pierced down from the sky like a sharp sword. In an instant his body disappeared. A crack in the void opened dozens of meters away from the ground. His figure flashed and the light of the god-binding shackles blasted directly on Qi Ji's master devil force Gang Qi. Boom. With just one strike, Qi Ji spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. His face was pale and his eyes were cold. God. God. The newcomer landed beside Qinin steadily. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he said, "Are you the one who said that the Qin clan's god-binding chains are trash?" I. Qi Ji gritted his teeth and suddenly shouted in a low voice, "Armored demons, kill him for me." A group of armored demons immediately flapped their wings and flew up, pouncing directly on this god realm expert. But he just smiled and suddenly raised an arm. The mighty god force condensed on his arm and suddenly blasted out. In the air, a martial spirit of a soaring sword was condensed. Boom. Hundreds of armored demons were instantly turned into dust. How powerful was this? Qin was dumbfounded. You are. The old man turned to look at her with a face full of love. He said, "Little girl, I am your ancestor. My name is Qin Han, the 237th emperor of the Qin Empire." Qin Han. Qin was dumbfounded. She had heard this name before. But according to the historical records, didn't you already ascend to the heaven realm? How could the historian know my whereabouts? I have been cultivating in the far north snow region. You are Qin, right? Yes. Qin said respectfully. Qin greets ancestor. Qin Han smiled slightly. You are welcome. If Zheng Yifan did not find me, I would not know that the world has changed to such an extent. The Iha nation rebelled, and the demon race invaded. Qin said urgently. Ancestor, save Xiaoxi and Lord Chu Chu first. Okay. Not far away, Chu Chu was already exhausted from the encirclement of 3 5-star Devil Sect disciples, while Tang Xiaoxi was evenly matched with another 5-star Devil Sect disciple, and it was impossible to determine the victor for a while. Qi La. A ripple spread in the air. It was the trace of space tearing. The next moment, Qin Han was already hundreds of meters away in the sky. Golden god-binding chains danced in his hands and bound Elder Jin Huang's body. 12 god-binding chains surrounded him tightly. Jin Huang gritted his teeth and shouted, "You are just a lower celestial. Even if you kill me, the Demon King will avenge me." The Golden Brilliance Valley used all of his strength to resist Qin Han's god-binding chains. Qin Han stood majestically in the wind. His aged face was filled with anger. He spread his fingers and slowly closed them, causing the god-binding chains to penetrate into Jin Huang's skin and muscles. Ah! Jin Huang kept screaming. His sea of qi was about to explode. His eyes were completely shrouded in blood-red light. The demon race was arrogant. That was why they called themselves the celestial race. Even if they met a real god, they would not surrender. Bang! Jin Huang's body suddenly exploded, turning into a rain of blood. Qin Han's eyes were cold. His forehead was dripping with sweat. He waved his sleeves and once again pierced through the plane. He held a golden sword in his right hand and slashed at the other 5-star demon grandmaster, Zhou Tan. Zhou Tan's arms shook. His fighting spirit was high. He roused the demon force in his body and roared, "Qi Ji Xianmi Lan Fu, leave quickly. I will hold him back. You must avenge me and Jin Huang." The long sword martial spirit splashed into stars. One of Zhou Tan's arms fell to the ground. He stood in the chaos with blood flowing. He looked up at Qin Han and suddenly laughed. "Old thing, you shouldn't have come out again. Do you know that? This will only bring about your death." Qin Han gritted his teeth and said, "You shameless scum who call yourselves the celestial race. You killed my people and seized my land. Today, I came out to wipe out your so-called celestial race." The domain of a god realm expert spread out. Immediately, Qin, Chu Chu, Tang Xiaoxi, Qin Yan, and the others were forced to retreat. The ground cracked inch by inch. Qin Han looked at Zhou Tan indifferently. The domain pressure pressed on his sea of qi. Zhou Tan stood in the same place with blood flowing. He could only forcefully use the Grandmaster Devil Force to generate pressure to resist the opponent. But how could Zhou Tan be a match for a divine venerable? In the blink of an eye, all the blood vessels in his body burst one after another. Puff, 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 blood splattered. His sea of qi also slowly cracked. The last of his life force disappeared. Plop! Zhou Tan slowly knelt on the ground and fell. His life force turned into a demonic spirit bead and floated above his corpse. Tang Xiaoxi walked forward and collected Zhou Tan's and Jin Huang's demonic spirit bead. She handed it to Qin Yin and secretly laughed. Wow, Xiao Yin, this ancestor of yours is really powerful. And yes. Qin Yin was also excited, but Zhang Wei and Chu Chu obviously had some doubts on their faces. Zheng Yifan appeared at this time and invited a divine venerable from the Qin family with dual martial spirits to come out. What was his intention? Qin Han's appearance might not be the fortune of the empire. It might bring about another disaster, right? Qi Ji ordered the troops to retreat. The armored demons also retreated. This battle was very tragic. The Muyu City army suffered heavy losses. Therefore, Suyu did not order the pursuit. If the devil race wanted to leave, let them go. After all, even if they pursued, they might not be able to gain any benefits. After consecutively injuring a 5-star devil grandmaster and killing 2 5-star devil grandmasters, Qin Han's condition was not very good. His face was pale and full of sweat. It should be the result of overconsumption of divine power. Qin Yin walked forward and bowed respectfully. She said, "Ancestor, why don't you go back to Ji County and rest for a while?" Qin Han's cold gaze softened when he saw his descendant, Qin Yin. He smiled and said, "Little girl, I followed Zheng Yifan all the way here from the snowy region. I haven't eaten anything good in a long time. Can you treat your ancestor to a good meal?" Qin Yin could not help but smile. "I and Xiaoxi just ate not long ago. If ancestor doesn't mind, please add a pair of chopsticks." I don't mind. Qin Han stroked his beard and smiled. "I haven't eaten the Empire's food for a long time. And Qin Yin looked at Suyu and asked with concern, "Aunt Lan, are you alright?" Suyu smiled. "I'm fine. Your Highness, accompany ancestor to eat. This subordinate will come and clean up the battlefield." "And thank you, Aunt Lan." After returning to the magistrate office, Qin Han and Zheng Yifan sat down with wine glasses and chopsticks. There were now 5 people at the table. Without saying a word, he filled his cup and drank a cup. "This must be Fire Cauldron Chu Chu, right?" Qin Han looked at him. "Your humble servant Chu Chu greets Emperor Qin Han," Chu Chu said respectfully. Qin Han smiled. "No need to stand on ceremony. I heard that you have been protecting Xiaoyin all this time. Thank you for your hard work. It is my honor to serve your highness." Chu Chu cupped his fists and a trace of doubt flashed through his eyes. He said, "Emperor, as the saying goes, a country cannot have 2 monarchs. I wonder if you..." Qin Han's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but smile. He stroked his beard and said, "Don't worry, Lord Chu Chu. If I, Qin Han, was greedy for power in the human world, why would I give up my position to cultivate? I only came out after hearing that the empire had fallen. I will ascend to the heavenly realm after wiping out the rebels of Iha country and the demons. The monarch of this empire will still be Xiaoyin, my granddaughter Xianxian." Qin Yin was speechless. "Ancestor, this seniority is a bit unclear." "Haha, that's not important," Qin Han said casually. "In short, I have already treated you, Xiaoyin, as my granddaughter. You can call me ancestor or grandfather. It's up to you. I remember there is a heart-nurturing pavilion behind Zetian Palace. I will stay there after returning to Lanyan City. Call me if you need anything. Don't bother me with those trivial matters." Chu Chu also smiled. "I think your highness will definitely agree." Qin Yin smiled sweetly. "Then call me ancestor. Otherwise, the seniority will be messed up." "As you wish." At this moment, Qin Yin looked at Zheng Yifan and bowed respectfully. Shinho, thank you. Zheng Yifan was also stunned. He quickly left his seat and knelt down respectfully. Zheng Yifan greets your highness. At the side, Qin Han only cared about eating. In the blink of an eye, he had finished a bowl of muntjac meat. Tang Xiaoxi was dumbfounded. A god-level master was indeed powerful at the dining table. Chapter 446. On the 2nd of May, Qin Yin personally led 300,000 troops out of Tianshu province and arrived at Wugu City. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing led Chu Yao, Wei Chou Situ-sun, Su Jiantao, and 5,000 troops on the official road to welcome the Empress. When the Empress's carriage arrived, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing stepped forward, dismounted, and cupped their fists. I, Lin Muyu/Feng Jixing, pay my respects to your highness. Qin Yin had a charming smile on his face, jumped off his horse and helped them up. Brother Yu, General Feng, both of you have worked hard. Both of you have contributed greatly in the battle at Wildfire Plains. When Xiao Yin returns to Lanyan City, I will reward both of you handsomely. Thank you, your highness. Lin Muyu raised his head and saw Zheng Yifan in the crowd. He couldn't help but frown. Zheng Yifan. Zheng Yifan urged his horse forward and said, Zheng Yifan pays my respects to Commander Yu. Commander Yu beat the demon army at their own game on Daojiang River. It was truly ingenious. I am very impressed. Lin Muyu didn't say much. He respectfully came in front of the supreme divinity, Qin Han, and said, I am Xiao Yin's sworn brother, Lin Muyu. Pay my respects to the ancestor. Qin Han looked at him with a smile and said, Lin Muyu, I heard that you also have god-binding chains? Release them. Let me see if your god-binding chains are pure, and if they're just for show. Yes. Lin Muyu took a step back and shouted. Immediately, 9 god-binding chains stood up around him and shone brightly. Qin Han was slightly startled. You have already stepped into the Saint region at such a young age. It seems that the Empire is indeed full of talents. Good lad. The power of the god-binding chains has been unleashed to the extreme by you. I am really impressed. What he meant by bringing it to its limits should be that each layer of the god-binding shackles had its own special ability. Lin Muyu withdrew her power, and the golden martial spirit entered her body. She said respectfully, Thank you for your praise, ancestor. As Qin Han rode past, he gently placed his hand on Lin Muyu's shoulder and smiled. You're Xiao Yin's brother, so you're also my descendant. You don't have to be so polite. Let's enter the city. Thank you, ancestor. Lin Muyu turned around and looked at Qin Han's back in a daze. This supreme divinity didn't put on any airs at all, which was completely different from Luo Lan's arrogant aura. Even Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse technique couldn't sense the powerful aura and hostility from Qin Han. Could it be that everything was fake? At this moment, Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Chu came forward to talk about their parting feelings. Tang Xiaoxi immediately returned the 40,000 troops of the Longdan army camp to Lin Muyu. Although the battle was fierce, the Longdan army camp's troops were well preserved. The number of casualties was less than 5,000, which could be said to be a miracle. The Divine Might Battalion, which was led by Zheng Yifan, was stationed outside the city. In reality, all the military forces in the Five Valleys city were single-handedly arranged by Lin Muyu. It was impossible for him to allow the Divine Might Battalion to enter the city. Unknowingly, Zheng Yifan and Lin Muyu were walking side by side. Beside them was Zhen Fang, who had his hand on the hilt of his sword. After not seeing each other for a long time, Zhen Fang had also changed from that ignorant and frivolous youth to a much more mature and steady person. His face had lost some of its wildness, but had gained some weather-beaten calmness. I wonder where the divine overlords have been all these years? Lin Muyu asked. Zheng Yifan said faintly. They lived in seclusion in the northern jungle of Tianshu province. I only received news of the fall of Lanyan City more than a month later, so I didn't lead the Shunwei battalion out of the mountains. After that, I was instructed by an expert to go to the wild snow region in the north alone. After nearly 2 years, I finally found Emperor Qin Han, who was cultivating in seclusion. So, I returned to the empire with Emperor Qin Han to serve the empress. Lin Muyu was silent. She looked at the retreating road under the hooves of the horses, and didn't know what to say. Zheng Yifan sighed and said, His Majesty Qin Jin was benevolent all his life, but in the end he died in the hands of his own brother. It's sad and lamentable. I, Zheng Yifan, have lived a sad life too. I only wanted to fight for the glory of my clan, but in the end, I was suspected by His Majesty. I had no choice but to leave Lanyan City. I originally planned to die of old age in the mountains, but I didn't expect the incident of Iha Nation to happen again. As he spoke, Zheng Yifan looked at Lin Muyu and said, Commander Yu, when the former emperor was still alive, I made things difficult for you. Do you still hate me? Lin Muyu shook her head and smiled bitterly. The empire has changed drastically, and the world has changed. How can I still hate you? Divine Overlord. You and I were once sworn enemies. Later, Brother Chu Huayin even destroyed Zheng Fang's Sea of Qi. Do you hate me? Zheng Yifan was stunned. Zheng Fang looked at Lin Muyu, and his eyes continued to show the vicissitudes of life. He said, Sister and Chu Huayin died together in Lanyan City. What else do I hate? Lin Muyu, you don't have to worry. This time, my father and I return to Lanyan City just to support the empire. We won't make things difficult for anyone. That's good. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, May we be of one heart and one mind, and support the empire of the Qin Empire in the future. Zheng Yifan and Zheng Fang cupped their fists together. Lin Muyu sighed inwardly. Nothing was absolute in the world. Time could wash away longing and worry, but it could also wash away hatred and pain. In the face of the passage of time, no one could be as unyielding as before. On the 14th of May, Su Yu, Xiang Yu, Lin Muyu, and Feng Jixing led 4 groups of people to drive the remnants of the demon army out of the empire's territory. They recovered the steel protective wall and repaired it. On the 29th of May, they returned to the imperial capital and were welcomed by the citizens. The next day, Zetian Palace Hall. Qin Han went to Yangxin Pavilion to meditate and cultivate. Just as he said, he wouldn't interfere in any court affairs. With Zheng Yifan's return, the situation of Tang Lan and Su Muyun monopolizing the power was directly impacted. In terms of military strength, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi had more than 200,000 soldiers. Feng Jixing's imperial guards also had more than 50,000 soldiers. This also meant that Qin Yin's side had nearly 300,000 soldiers. After the Battle of the Steel Protective Wall, the total number of soldiers in Qihai Province and Yunzhong Province was only about 200,000. Both sides were almost equal. This was the first time Qin Yin felt that she had power in her hands. This was the first time she felt that she was a real empress. Qin Yin slowly sat on the throne. Her milky white maiden's robe outlined her perfect figure. She looked at Her Highness Lin Muyu gently and smiled. Lin Muyu also looked at her with love and longing in her eyes. Feng Jixing coughed. Don't be like this. What's with this kind of eye contact? Lin Muyu was slightly embarrassed. She lowered her head and touched her nose. Qin Yin's cultivation was about to step into the saint level. Her 5 senses were extraordinarily strong. Naturally, she could hear Feng Jixing's whispers. Instantly, her cheeks flushed red. She was incomparably beautiful. She said, Jingyue, read the imperial edict. Yes. The empress's chief female official, a woman called Shangguan Jingyue, walked forward. She held the golden imperial edict in her hand and said in a clear voice, In this decisive battle with the demon race, all the generals were loyal to their duties. They were fearless in the face of the powerful demon race army. It is gratifying. The commander of the Longdan army camp, Lin Muyu, saw through Sherman's tricks and seized the Five Valley City in a time of crisis. She also set up a brilliant plan to drown the demon race army in the wildfire plain, and beheaded more than 60,000 armored demons. This is the greatest merit in this battle. She is specially awarded a Golden Order, and is conferred the title of Marquis Yunling. She will be given the Five Valley City. The commander of the Imperial Army, Feng Jixing, set up the Qianquan battle formation in the Unicorn Forest, and killed more than 20,000 armored demons. She also assisted Lin Muyu in drowning the demon race army. She is specially awarded a Golden Order, and is conferred the title of Marquis Yunzhong. She will be given the Divine Shadow City. Marquis Shen Weizeng Yifan has protected the country. He will be reinstated and promoted to a rank 1 general. He will be reorganized and recruit the Shenwei Battalion. He will be established as the Shenwei Army and will be responsible for guarding the northern border. The rest of the generals will be rewarded according to their contributions. Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Zheng Yifan stepped forward together and cupped their fists to express their gratitude. This battle had actually created 2 marquises for the empire. At this time, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing's titles and military positions were already on the same level as Zheng Yifan's. This was enough to show how much Qin Yin relied on them. On the contrary, none of the generals from Muyu City and Qihai City were conferred titles. Even Xiangyu, who had made a lot of contributions, didn't receive any conferment. This inevitably made the 2 Grand Dukes somewhat unhappy. However, both Tang Lan and Su Muyin didn't say anything. They were well aware that the current Lanyan city had changed. Not only did Qin Yin have the support of Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Zheng Yifan, but she also had the backing of the Divine Lord, Qin Han. Qin Han was an otherworldly expert who didn't covet power. He doted on Qin Yin as if she was his own granddaughter. At this time, whoever dared to challenge the Empress would only be looking for trouble. Moreover, after this battle, both Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing had their own fiefdoms. This further demonstrated Qin Yin's determination. After the court meeting was dismissed, Qin Yin asked Su Muyin to stay. There were only the 2 of them in the huge hall. Qin Yin walked down the steps and held Su Muyin's arm. She smiled and said, "Grandfather, don't be angry." During the decisive battle between the Steel Wall and the demons, the Muyu City's Iron Blade Army and Zither Dragon Army were very brave. I saw it with my own eyes. It's just that Brother Yu and General Feng made great contributions, so Xiao Yin conferred them the title of Marquis. Su Muyin raised his hand and gently rubbed Qin Yin's delicate face with the back of his hand. He said, "Grandfather's Xiao Yin has grown up. I'm really happy for you." However, Divine Shadow City is the provincial capital of Tianshu Province. It was originally guarded by Su Long. I'm afraid that the morale of the Muyu City's army will change when Xiao Yin gives Divine Shadow City to Feng Jixing as his territory. That's why I need grandfather to say a few words on behalf of Xiao Yin. After all, Su Long is grandfather's general. Qin Yin blinked and said, "General Feng is good at war and has contributed greatly to the empire. He's incomparably loyal and brave. Grandfather has also seen it." Xiao Yin conferred Divine Shadow City to him to appease the people. "I know." Su Muyin thought for a moment and said, "Grandfather will return Divine Shadow City to Xiao Yin. After all, Xiao Yin has grown up. After I go back, I'll write a letter to Su Long and order him to lead the army out of Divine Shadow City. I'll give the city to Feng Jixing. Good grandfather is the best." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.